When July arrives, a quiet urgency often sets into the gardening community. If you live in the north, the window feels like it is rapidly closing before the winter frost. If you live in the deep south, the unrelenting heat makes you feel like everything might simply burn. But the truth is, July is the most strategic planting month of the year, if you understand what your climate demands. Today, we are eliminating the guesswork. We are breaking down 15 container vegetables you need to plant right now in July, customized to your USDA Hardiness Zone. By matching the right seed with a zone-specific container strategy, we will turn your patio into a highly productive, weather-resilient sanctuary. We have divided this masterclass into 3 distinct regions. Let's begin in the north and secure that autumn harvest. Chapter 1. The Northern Fall Harvest, USDA Zones 3 to 6. For gardeners in the demanding climates of Canada, Michigan, and New York, July is not the relaxed, lazy middle of summer. It is your final, rapidly closing golden window. While others casually embrace the lingering heat, you are intimately aware of the sharp winter frost that is already quietly approaching. We are boldly planting highly resilient, swift-growing crops that will gracefully race against the dropping temperatures. Instead of surrendering to the cold, these magnificent plants will use the crisp, incoming autumn frost as a powerful biological trigger, turning the freezing northern weather to their distinct advantage. We begin our northern container strategy with baby carrots. When the heavy, sweltering heat of a northern July begins to subtly break, your patio demands a visual anchor. Growing your own carrots reveals a breathtaking aesthetic for your autumn garden. You cultivate an abundant, swaying forest of soft, fern-like green tops that proudly withstand the early frosts. They contrast beautifully against the dark, rich soil, quietly hiding vibrant, glowing orange roots just beneath the surface of your container. The biological secret for zones 3 through 6 is timing the germination window. July is your final deadline. Sowing them now gives the tiny seeds the lingering summer warmth they need to sprout. However, as the roots reach their full length, the sharp autumn cold sets in. This plunging temperature acts as a biological trigger, prompting the plant to convert its stored starches into concentrated natural sugars as a defense mechanism, making your homegrown carrots remarkably sweet. To achieve flawless, straight carrots in a cold climate, you must utilize a deep, 10-gallon black fabric grow bag. Carrots resist hitting the hard bottom of a standard plastic pot, which causes them to deform and fork. The breathable fabric allows the delicate taproot to stretch straight down into uncompacted, fluffy soil. Crucially, the dark exterior steadily absorbs the fading late summer sunlight. It acts as a thermal battery, keeping the deep root zone warm and actively growing, even as the September nights turn cold. The harvest is one of the most nostalgic and poetic rituals of the slow-living season. You will step onto your frosty porch and gently brush away the dark soil to reveal crisp, sweet roots that are so tender they require no peeling. Just a quick rinse under the outdoor spigot, and they are ready to be roasted whole in a heavy cast-iron skillet with fresh thyme and local honey, anchoring your seasonal meals in the rhythm of your own backyard. Coming in at number 2 for our northern gardeners is the undisputed king of winter survival, kale. When the delicate summer vines naturally fade and the patio looks barren, cultivating this plant transforms your modest outdoor space into a resilient, weather-defying sanctuary. Its blistered, textured, architectural blue-green leaves stand tall and majestic. It brings a statuesque, almost prehistoric beauty to your container garden, remaining vibrant even when covered in a dusting of early October snow. Biologically, kale is built for endurance, specifically designed to thrive in the demanding conditions of zones 3 to 6. Sowing seeds or Planting young starts in July provides the plant with enough summer sunlight to vigorously build a sturdy, towering physical frame. When the sharp autumn frosts finally arrive, the plant simply adapts. It uses the freezing temperatures as an antifreeze mechanism, pushing natural sugars into the leaves, transforming a bitter summer green into a sweet, tender culinary delicacy. To properly support and insulate this heavy-feeding plant against northern temperature drops, a large, heavy-duty dark resin pot is your best strategy. Unlike thin plastic, thick resin walls provide vital thermal mass. They absorb the heat of the July sun and slowly release it during the freezing autumn nights, protecting the delicate root hairs from cold shock. You should also apply a thick layer of organic straw mulch over the soil surface, creating a physical blanket that locks in moisture and prevents the root zone from freezing solid. This is an agricultural investment that pays you daily, nutritious dividends straight through the winter. You will practice the mindful ritual of carefully breaking off the largest, darkest lower leaves one by one as the snow falls around you. These hardy, flavorful leaves are perfect for gently massaging into fresh, nutrient-dense winter salads or slowly baking into crispy chips, providing a touch of organic luxury right outside your door. At number 3, we feature the fast, highly satisfying radish. As the northern landscape gracefully drains of color and prepares for winter dormancy, July is your moment to inject a vibrant burst of life back into your garden. Cultivating autumn radishes brings a sudden pop of brilliant ruby red color and a lush green canopy. This makes your patio look like a thriving, abundant oasis rather than a sterile concrete slab bracing for the upcoming freeze. These remarkable root vegetables are the sprinters of the botanical world, acting as a high-speed engine for northern gardeners. Because zones 3 through 6 have a rapidly closing growing season, the 25-day maturity rate of the radish is a strategic advantage. By sowing them in the last weeks of July, you bypass the unrelenting midsummer heat that typically makes radishes bitter and woody. Instead, they mature beautifully in the crisp September air, guaranteeing a mild, sweet, and firm texture. Because radishes possess extremely shallow root systems, the optimal container strategy requires a long, shallow rectangular window box made of dark, durable composite material. There is no need to waste potting soil, filling deep pots for a root that only grows a few inches long. A wide, shallow planter maximizes your horizontal surface area, allowing you to space the seeds in neat rows. The dark composite material steadily absorbs the fading autumn sun, ensuring the shallow soil remains warm enough to push the roots to their maximum size before the freeze. Within a mere month, you will be pulling these crisp, peppery jewels directly from the cold earth. Slicing them paper thin over a piece of buttered artisan sourdough toast finished with a pinch of flaky sea salt provides a gourmet, 0 food miles breakfast. It is a deeply satisfying culinary experience that connects you directly to the season, proving that you can squeeze genuine abundance out of a short growing window. Number 4 requires a slight strategic shift: broccoli transplants. As the sprawling energy of the summer garden gracefully fades, cultivating broccoli offers a highly structural, breathtaking aesthetic to anchor your autumn patio. The plant produces expansive, prehistoric, silver green leaves that eventually give way to a stunning, deeply textured, tightly beaded, blue-green central crown. It stands like a majestic, highly organized living sculpture on your patio, boldly holding its ground against the unpredictable incoming autumn weather. The biological reality for northern gardeners is that planting broccoli from seed in July will simply not give you enough time before the winter freeze. However, planting established nursery transplants in July is a strategic masterstroke. Broccoli planted in the spring often bolts and goes to seed due to the summer heat. By inserting established plants into the warm July soil, they grow large, robust foliage in August. This allows the tightly packed crowns to form slowly and perfectly during the crisp, chilled weeks of late September and October. To support this top-heavy brassica, an enriched 15-gallon fabric grow bag is highly recommended. Broccoli requires rich nutrients and consistent moisture to prevent the crown from splitting. The large fabric bag forces the root system to air prune, creating thousands of fine feeder roots that vigorously absorb nutrients. Because the fabric can lose heat quickly in zones 3 or 4, you should top-dress the soil with rich worm castings and a thick layer of compost. This physically insulates the root zone against sudden overnight frosts. The harvest is a moment of quiet agricultural triumph. You will proudly step out to your crisp patio, wielding a sharp knife to cleanly slice the dense central crown right from the thick stalk. Bringing this pristine, icy-cold head of broccoli into your warm kitchen to be gently steamed and tossed with fresh garlic and olive oil provides a hearty, nutritious meal that justifies your strategic July planning. We round out Chapter 1 at number 5 with the remarkably resilient spinach. When the unrelenting heat of the northern summer finally begins to break, your patio naturally craves a resurgence of deep, vibrant green. Cultivating autumn spinach provides a lush, dense, low-growing tapestry of dark, textured, spade-shaped leaves that gracefully blankets your containers. It brings a profoundly calming yet abundant visual anchor to your outdoor space. It stands as a breathtaking, deep green sanctuary just as the surrounding landscape fades into a quiet gray. Biologically, spinach is a master of the rapidly cooling season. Attempting to grow this crop in the heat of spring often results in immediate, irreversible bolting. However, by strategically holding your seeds until the very end of July or early August, you capture the downward trend in northern soil temperatures. The tiny seeds vigorously germinate in the cooling earth. As the autumn days shorten, the plant is biologically prevented from flowering. Instead, it dynamically redirects its energy into producing thick, tender leaves that thrive in the crisp, overcast days. To properly accommodate this expansive horizontal growth, a wide, durable composite rectangular trough is your best strategy. Spinach possesses a vigorous yet remarkably shallow root system that requires surface area rather than extreme depth. The heavy, dark composite material effectively prevents the rapid evaporation that plagues porous clay. It firmly locks in the consistent moisture this thirsty crop demands, while absorbing the gentle, fading autumn sunlight to keep the shallow root zone active. The harvest is a deeply rhythmic, rewarding, continuous cycle of abundance. You will practice the satisfying cut-and-come-again method, stepping out into the morning dew to mindfully snap the crisp outer leaves, while the central crown steadily pushes out fresh new growth. Gently wilting these frost-kissed, earthy leaves in a heavy cast-iron pan with browned butter provides a deeply flavorful, nutritious addition to your autumn table, closing out the northern growing season with quiet triumph. Chapter 2. The Transitional Second Summer, USDA Zones 7 to 8. For gardeners operating in the intense transitional climates of Zones 7 and 8, like Virginia and northern Texas, July represents the blistering peak of summer exhaustion. Your initial spring crops are likely fading under the unrelenting heat and heavy humidity. However, you must not surrender the patio. July is the critical strategic turning point where we boldly launch a second summer. We are deploying specialized, remarkably heat-resistant crops that will thrive in the warm soil right now, setting the stage for a steady, resilient autumn harvest that will revitalize your garden. We launch Chapter 2 at number 6 with the visually spectacular, truly majestic Swiss chard. When the blistering July sun bakes the patios of Zone 7, leaving the spring garden looking exhausted, This plant serves as a breathtaking, vibrant beacon of survival. Its massive, glossy, architectural green leaves are gracefully supported by stunning, heavily veined stems in brilliant shades of fiery crimson, bright gold, and deep magenta. It revitalizes your sun-weary deck, bringing a dramatic, vividly colored tropical aesthetic to an otherwise stressed midsummer landscape. The biological reality of Zones 7 and 8 is that the midsummer heat can be punishing. However, Swiss chard is a true biological powerhouse armed with remarkable heat tolerance. By purposefully sowing seeds in July, you allow the deep taproot to firmly establish itself in the warm soil. While the above-ground growth might pause during the blistering August weeks, the crisp arrival of September acts as a biological trigger. The deeply rooted plant will suddenly erupt into steady, unstoppable vegetative production that continues straight through November. To safely protect this magnificent plant during the intensely hot July establishment phase, a large, heavy, beautifully glazed ceramic pot is your best strategy. The thick, dense walls of the ceramic provide essential thermal mass. They act as a crucial insulating barrier that physically prevents the harsh summer sun from overheating the delicate root zone. Furthermore, cultivating it in a standalone container allows you to move the heavy pot into protective afternoon shade until the sweltering heat wave finally breaks. The harvest is a rhythmic, rewarding display of continuous abundance. You will walk out to your sunlit porch to gently clip these vibrantly glowing, crisp stalks, gently wilting these hardy leaves in a warm cast iron pan with rich olive oil and smoked garlic provides a flavorful, deeply comforting dish that beautifully bridges the culinary gap between a scorching summer and a crisp autumn. At number 7, we present the legendary, highly productive zucchini. When the heavy midsummer humidity exhausts your patio, this plant dynamically injects a massive burst of untamed, lush greenery. It is a visually imposing masterpiece featuring expansive, prehistoric-looking, deeply lobed leaves and stunning, brilliantly golden blossoms. It brings an abundant, beautifully chaotic, and tropical aesthetic to your outdoor space, instantly transforming a sun-baked corner into an active, vibrantly alive green oasis. For gardeners in Zones 7 and 8, July represents the perfect window for a crucial succession planting. By midsummer, your initial spring-planted zucchini is likely exhausted or damaged by squash bugs. Sowing a brand new batch of seeds in July bypasses this frustrating decline. The summer heat causes the fresh seeds to rapidly germinate in mere days, fueling a vigorous second summer growth cycle that guarantees a heavy harvest from late August until the very first frost. Because of its substantial water requirements in the sweltering heat, a large insulated wooden half-barrel is highly recommended. This vessel provides the sheer volume of rich, moisture-retaining compost required to fuel this demanding plant. The thick natural wood acts as a physical shield, preventing the intense July sun from evaporating the vital moisture out of the soil. It also firmly anchors the massive, sail-like canopy against powerful summer thunderstorms. This incredible plant is the unrivaled powerhouse of the transitional patio. You will find yourself excitedly harvesting heavy, beautifully glossy green squash every single week. From grilling thick, charred slices at a late summer patio barbecue to peacefully baking warm, spiced zucchini bread on a crisp autumn morning, this single powerful plant effortlessly provides an abundant harvest. Coming in at number 8, we feature the highly prolific bush cucumber. When the July air in Zone 8 becomes stagnant and heavy, this plant creates a profoundly refreshing, cooling visual escape. It rapidly builds a lush, vibrant canopy of oversized, beautifully textured green leaves that gracefully spill over the edges of your containers. This dense foliage is dotted with cheerful yellow flowers, concealing dozens of hanging, crisp green fruits. It offers a quiet, highly productive sanctuary amidst the unrelenting summer glare. In these transitional climates, timing is everything. Cucumbers planted in the spring often become bitter and tough when subjected to the prolonged, blistering heat of July. However, by intentionally waiting to sow your bush cucumber seeds in mid-July, you manipulate the plant's biological clock. The heat causes the seeds to sprout remarkably fast, but the demanding fruiting phase perfectly aligns with the slightly cooler, refreshing days of late August and September, guaranteeing the sweetest, most tender cucumbers possible. A heavy-duty plastic resin pot, equipped with a small, rigid metal tomato cage, is the perfect environment. The heavy resin effectively holds the deep, consistent moisture that cucumbers need to remain crisp. Crucially, you should apply a thick layer of light-colored organic straw mulch directly over the soil surface. This physical barrier actively reflects the intense July sunlight, keeping the delicate, shallow feeder roots cool and deeply hydrated. The ultimate reward is unmatched crunch and profound hydration. You will happily part the heavy green leaves to pluck perfectly ripe sun-warmed cucumbers straight from the thick stem. Slicing them into your vibrant late summer salads or dropping thick, icy slices into a cold pitcher of water provides a profoundly refreshing, hydrating experience on your warm patio. Number 9 brings us the highly underrated, versatile turnip. As July burns away the last remnants of the spring garden, leaving behind empty pots, cultivating this crop reveals a stunning, deeply rustic, dual-purpose beauty. Above the baked soil, you rapidly cultivate a thick, vibrant canopy of lush, deeply serrated green leaves. Beneath the surface, smooth, beautifully heavy purple and white globes quietly swell. It offers a profoundly traditional, grounding aesthetic that transforms your patio into an active, working homestead. For Zones 7 and 8, July is the ultimate window to launch this fall staple. Turnips possess a fascinating biological duality. By sowing the tiny seeds in the sweltering heat of late July, the warm soil acts as an incubator, driving rapid germination in days. As the plant vigorously develops its leafy canopy throughout August, the crisp autumn air eventually arrives, acting as a profound biological trigger. The plant dynamically redirects its energy downward, swelling the roots and packing them with concentrated sugars. To maximize this impressive dual harvest, a wide, durable composite rectangular planter is your best strategy. Turnips do not require extreme depths, but they need adequate horizontal spacing to swell properly without competition. The expansive surface area of a rectangular trough allows for excellent air circulation between the lush leaves. This is critical during the heavy heat of August to prevent fungal diseases from damaging your leafy greens. This single plant provides a remarkably abundant double harvest. In late summer, you selectively harvest the tender green tops, slowly braising them with smoked garlic for a deeply comforting side dish. Weeks later, you will practice the rewarding, grounding ritual of pulling the heavy, perfectly crisp purple roots directly from the cold autumn earth, ready to be slowly roasted into a nutritious winter staple. Rounding out Chapter 2 at number 10 is the pristine, highly structural Bok Choy. By late July, the transitional patio often feels overgrown, visually chaotic, and exhausted by the punishing heat. Introducing this magnificent Asian green instantly brings a profound sense of architectural order back to your containers. The smooth, brilliantly white stalks and dark, glossy, spoon-shaped leaves grow in a neat, structured, vase-like form. Placing these striking, elegant plants in the dappled shade adds a profoundly calm, beautifully structured visual element to the fading summer garden. Asian greens are sensitive to extreme heat and prolonged day length, which forces them to bolt and flower almost immediately in the spring. However, purposefully sowing Bok Choy in late July is a profound biological masterstroke. The plant matures as the days grow shorter and the heavy temperatures finally drop. This perfect biological alignment naturally prevents early flowering, allowing the plant to rapidly develop thick, crisp stalks and remarkably tender leaves. Classic unglazed terracotta pots work exceptionally well for this crop, provided you monitor their moisture. Grouping these porous clay pots directly behind larger containers, such as those holding towering tomatoes or bushy peppers, creates a vital, highly protective cooling microclimate. The deeply breathable terracotta allows the soil to aerate, preventing the sensitive roots from sitting in stagnant water after heavy late summer rainstorms. Harvesting this crop is a clean, deeply satisfying experience. You can expertly slice the entire head directly at the base, keeping the pristine leaves perfectly attached to the thick stalk. Halved lengthwise and quickly seared in a hot pan with a touch of toasted sesame oil, it retains a snapping crunch and a profoundly mild flavor. It provides a brilliant, elegant addition to a quiet evening meal. Chapter 3. The Southern Desert Heat, USDA Zones 9 to 10 plus. For gardeners in the notoriously intense, unforgiving climates of southern Florida, Texas, and Arizona, July can feel like a suffocating furnace. When the blistering, unrelenting summer heat exhausts the spring garden, leaving it quiet and dormant, you must change your tactics. While others surrender their patios until October, we are about to launch a highly calculated, proactively heat-seeking agricultural strategy. We are deploying specialized, tropical crops that don't just survive the heavy heat, they require it. They unleash a phenomenal harvest exactly when the sun is at its most intense. We launch the final chapter at number 11 with the remarkably resilient, unstoppable sweet potato. When the unrelenting heat of a Zone 10 July silences the typical patio garden, this magnificent plant provides a breathtaking visual salvation. The thick tropical vines boldly spill over your containers, rapidly carpeting your sun-baked concrete in a dense, intensely vibrant mat of heart-shaped leaves. It creates a profoundly serene, thriving green sanctuary that gracefully outlasts the summer sun. Biologically, the sweet potato is a phenomenal, highly specialized tropical wonder that views a 100-degree July afternoon not as a threat, but as a requirement. While typical northern potatoes would succumb to this intensely hot soil, sweet potato slips planted in midsummer use the intense daytime heat and humid nights as a massive biological catalyst. This profound environmental pressure prompts the plant to vigorously multiply its underground tubers, converting extreme solar energy into massive starchy roots. To successfully execute this high-heat strategy, a massive 20-gallon light-colored fabric grow bag is highly recommended. You should avoid black plastic in Zone 10 as it can quickly overheat the roots. A tan or light gray breathable fabric actively reflects the punishing ultraviolet rays away from the container. More importantly, the remarkably porous fabric allows the trapped heat to effortlessly escape. This naturally regulates the internal soil temperature, while providing the immense volume needed for the tubers to expand unhindered. The harvest completely redefines the concept of zero-effort abundance. Long after the exhausting summer breaks, you will slice open the heavy fabric bag to unearth an avalanche of smooth, deeply orange tubers. Baking these dense sweet potatoes in a slow oven releases a rich, intensely caramelized syrup, providing deeply comforting sustenance throughout the winter. At number 12, we feature the spectacularly resilient, proudly upright okra. When the stagnant, heavy July air settles over the southern patio, causing delicate vines to wither, okra stands as a majestic, deeply tropical monolith. It boasts a remarkably sturdy posture, boldly displaying massive, stunning, hibiscus-like pale yellow flowers with deep crimson centers. It creates a captivating, beautifully architectural centerpiece that commands the space and gracefully defies the searing midsummer heat. Biologically, okra is one of the few botanical wonders that uses extreme temperatures as a biological accelerator. In zones 9 and 10, planting okra seeds in the center of summer triggers a dynamic, rapid growth cycle. The unrelenting heat pushes the plant to drop its gorgeous blossoms and form crisp, brilliantly green pods in a matter of days, demanding your attention to keep up with its steady production rate. Because this robust plant features a vigorous taproot explicitly designed to hunt for water in arid conditions, a remarkably tall, heavy-duty resin planter is your best container strategy. The deep pot securely anchors the heavy canopy against sudden, powerful summer thunderstorms. Crucially, you should top-dress the soil surface with a thick layer of coarse pine bark mulch to slow evaporation. This ensures that the deep taproot remains hydrated during the intense afternoon baking hours. The continuous harvest is a highly engaging daily ritual. Because the extreme heat accelerates pod production, you will step out to your warm patio every morning wielding sharp shears. Snapping off these perfectly tender pods when they are exactly 3 inches long guarantees an immaculate crunch. Flash frying them in a hot cast iron skillet provides a genuinely gourmet, authentic Southern masterpiece. Coming in at number 13 is the breathtakingly gorgeous, untamed Malabar spinach. Attempting to grow traditional cool weather greens on a July patio will quickly result in a wilted, bitter mess. Instead, embrace this remarkably vigorous succulent vine. It rapidly constructs a striking vertical wall of incredibly thick, glossy leaves, contrasted against saturated, vivid magenta stems. It brings an exotic, deeply vibrant aesthetic that effortlessly thrives under the most intense UV rays imaginable. Despite its misleading common name, this vigorous plant is a highly specialized, heat-seeking succulent perfectly designed for the sheer intensity of zones 9 and 10. Planting these seeds in July instantly triggers its biological imperative to climb. As the heavy, suffocating heat index skyrockets, the plant dynamically produces incredibly thick, glossy leaves. It generates maximum vegetative output precisely when every other traditional green has surrendered to the heat. Because this phenomenal plant is a rapid, vigorous climber, your container strategy must focus on structural verticality. A massive 15-gallon heavy composite tub, expertly paired with a tall, anchored A-frame metal trellis, is vital. The heavy tub provides the massive water capacity needed to keep the succulent leaves plump. Meanwhile, the towering trellis guides the vines, transforming a sprawling plant into a highly organized, striking vertical wall of edible foliage. This single powerful container revolutionizes your summer patio. You will practice the highly mindful ritual of stepping outside to meticulously snip the remarkably thick, crisp leaves. They possess a brilliantly mild, slightly peppery, deeply refreshing flavor profile that flawlessly withstands the heat. They provide a crisp, heat-proof foundation for a vibrant, highly nutritious summer salad. At number 14, we highly recommend cultivating intensely flavorful hot peppers. In the most sun-baked, unforgiving corner of your patio, where the intense heat radiates, hot peppers create a deeply striking visual spectacle. The plant rapidly develops into a remarkably compact bush, its dark, heavily textured leaves cupped against the intense sun. This dense canopy becomes loaded with brilliant, hot jewels, offering a breathtaking display of raw biological power. For gardeners in zones 9 and 10, planting established 6-week-old transplants in July is the ultimate strategic move for an abundant fall harvest. If you were to sow seeds right now, they would take over 100 days to produce fruit, pushing your harvest deep into the cooler winter months when yields naturally drop. By inserting robust transplants into the warm July soil, you perfectly align their fruiting phase with the intense late summer heat they biologically require. This environmental pressure chemically prompts the plant to flood the fruit with concentrated capsaicin oils, guaranteeing a deep, complex, and remarkable heat profile. To properly harness this intense heat without overwhelming the plant, a classic, heavy, fully unglazed 5-gallon terracotta pot is the ultimate expert strategy. Hot peppers resist stagnant moisture and strongly prefer their deep root systems to completely dry out between heavy waterings. The highly porous, deeply breathable clay expertly wicks away excess moisture. It naturally mimics the arid, harsh desert conditions these plants crave, driving even more intense flavor and profound heat directly into the ripening peppers. The final harvest is a deeply satisfying, triumphant culinary victory. You will proudly harvest dozens of heavy, deeply colored, intensely hot peppers from a single, compact plant. Slowly roasting them over an open flame to create a deeply smoky, intensely flavorful salsa guarantees a massive, aromatic spice cabinet that will dramatically flavor your winter cooking for months. We round out our July masterclass at number 15 with the highly luxurious eggplant. As the heavy deep south summer reaches its absolute zenith, the eggplant stands as a deeply majestic, resilient anchor on your quiet patio. The plant boldly deploys massive, remarkably velvety leaves that actively absorb the blinding glare. These leaves shelter breathtakingly glossy, flawlessly smooth, deeply purple fruits. They offer a luxurious, intensely rich visual centerpiece to finalize your summer garden. Biologically, the eggplant is the undisputed king of the southern summer. However, just like our hot peppers, starting from seed in July is a critical mistake. Eggplants require a long maturity window. Waiting 100 days for seeds to fruit means the incoming cool winter weather will eventually stunt your production. By actively planting sturdy, pre-grown transplants right now, you immediately provide them with the intense thermal heat they crave. The midsummer temperatures fuel the rapid expansion of its velvet leaves, providing the biological energy required to swell those heavy fruits to flawless perfection before the season eventually cools. To support the immense production of this phenomenal nightshade, a large 20-gallon dark resin tub placed in the hottest, sunniest corner is highly recommended. The incredibly thick resin walls act as a massive thermal battery. They absorb the blistering daytime heat and steadily radiate it straight into the root zone throughout the warm night. You must implement a rigid wooden support stake to physically prevent the heavy fruits from suddenly snapping the delicate branches. Harvesting a flawlessly perfect, profoundly glossy eggplant from your patio is a moment of pure culinary triumph. Seamlessly slicing through the dense, tightly packed, sponge-like flesh to create a rich, bubbling, slow-baked masterpiece provides a deeply comforting, high-end meal. It proves that you can master the most unrelenting climate and harvest genuine abundance. That wraps up our list of the 15 essential container vegetables to plant this July, perfectly tailored to your climate. Which of these zone-specific crops are you adding to your patio to secure your autumn harvest? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening challenges you want me to tackle next. But please don't go anywhere just yet, because our container gardening masterclass is far from over. Now that you possess the exact blueprint to confidently navigate extreme summer weather, we need to talk about the ultimate goal of your garden. Surviving the changing seasons is a beautiful first step, but what if your patio could do more than just survive? What if it could completely replace your weekly grocery bill? Right now, we are shifting our focus from climate strategy to pure, abundant food production. Let's dive directly into the next 15 high-yielding container vegetables that will transform your quiet backyard into a highly productive, organic mini supermarket, severing your reliance on the produce aisle for good. Let's get started. We kick off our grocery list at number 15 with radishes. If you are deeply tired of paying for those sad, rubbery bunches of radishes sitting endlessly under the harsh fluorescent lights of the supermarket, it is truly time to grow your own. Homegrown radishes bring a sudden pop of brilliant, ruby red color and a lush, vibrant green canopy that instantly makes your patio look like a thriving, abundant farm rather than a sterile concrete slab. These remarkable little root vegetables are the absolute sprinters of the botanical world, acting as a high-speed biological engine for your mini supermarket. From the exact moment you drop the tiny seeds into the warm soil, it takes an astonishingly brief 25 days to produce a fully mature, perfectly crisp root. This rapid turnaround allows you to aggressively succession plant, sowing new seeds every week to guarantee a continuous, unbroken harvest all season long without any gaps in production. Because radishes possess extremely shallow root systems, the optimal container strategy requires a long, shallow rectangular window box made of durable resin. There is absolutely no need to waste expensive potting soil filling deep pots for a root that only grows 2 inches long. A wide, shallow planter strictly maximizes your horizontal surface area, allowing you to space the seeds perfectly in neat, highly productive rows while maintaining excellent soil drainage to prevent the roots from splitting. Within a month, you will be pulling these crisp, peppery jewels directly from the earth, completely bypassing the grocery store checkout line. Slicing them paper thin over a thick piece of heavily buttered artisan sourdough toast, finished with a pinch of flaky sea salt, provides a gourmet, zero food miles breakfast. It is a deeply satisfying culinary experience that no grocery store produce can ever replicate, proving that the fastest way to fresh food is through your own backyard. Coming in at number 14 are baby carrots. We have all been relentlessly conditioned to buy those perfectly uniform, completely flavorless bags of baby carrots that have been whittled down by industrial machines and washed in chlorine solutions. Growing your own reveals a completely different, highly romantic aesthetic. You cultivate soft, swaying, fern-like green tops that contrast beautifully against the dark, rich soil, quietly hiding deeply vibrant, glowing orange roots just beneath the surface of your container. Carrots are an incredibly efficient use of limited patio space, acting as a powerful biological engine that converts sunlight into dense, highly nutritious starches. As the late summer weather gradually cools into autumn, the plant's biology works incredibly in your favor. The cool soil naturally converts those stored starches into pure, concentrated sugars as a defense mechanism against frost. This makes your homegrown carrots taste like absolute, vibrant candy compared to their bland, watery, store-bought counterparts. To achieve perfectly straight carrots, you absolutely must utilize a deep, 10-gallon fabric grow bag. Carrots absolutely despise hitting the hard, impermeable bottom of a standard plastic or ceramic pot, which inevitably causes them to permanently deform, twist, and fork. The deep, breathable fabric allows the delicate taproot to stretch straight down into uncompacted, fluffy soil, while simultaneously ensuring impeccable drainage, preventing the roots from rotting in stagnant water after a heavy summer rainstorm. The harvest is one of the most nostalgic and deeply poetic rituals of the entire garden season. You will gently brush away the dark soil to reveal flawlessly crisp, sweet roots that are so incredibly tender they require absolutely no peeling. Just a quick rinse under the outdoor spigot, and they are ready to be roasted whole in a cast iron skillet with fresh thyme and local honey for a cozy, rustic, self-sufficient dinner straight from the patio. At number 13, we have the indispensable sweet basil. Buying fresh herbs at the local supermarket is undeniably one of the most frustrating financial traps. You pay a massive premium for a tiny plastic clamshell, only to watch the delicate leaves turn black and slimy in your refrigerator just 2 days later. Cultivating a mature basil plant on your patio provides a lush, highly fragrant architectural masterpiece that completely eliminates this relentless, expensive cycle of food waste. Basil is an incredibly aggressive, heat-loving engine of pure foliage production. By strictly and consistently pinching off the top cluster of leaves, you trigger a powerful biological response that forces the plant to branch outward. Instead of growing into a single, spindly stalk, it transforms into a massive, dense, bushy canopy. This regenerative growth habit means it continuously produces fresh, intensely flavored leaves significantly faster than you or your family can reasonably consume them during the summer. The absolute best container for growing thriving basil is a classic, unglazed, heavy terracotta pot. Basil loves immense warmth, but absolutely hates sitting in soggy, poorly drained, waterlogged soil. The naturally porous, breathable nature of natural clay effortlessly wicks excess moisture away from the root zone. This prevents devastating root rot and naturally creates the perfectly warm, slightly dry microclimate that this classic Mediterranean herb craves to produce its highest concentration of essential aromatic oils. Having this vibrant plant situated just steps away from your kitchen grants you the ultimate sense of culinary freedom. You will find yourself stepping outside on a warm, golden evening, mindfully snipping large handfuls of intensely aromatic leaves and bringing them straight to the cutting board. Blending them with pine nuts, garlic, and rich olive oil into an emerald green pesto provides a luxurious, zero food miles meal that captures the absolute essence of a slow, abundant summer life. Number 12 is the highly versatile green onion. This is the quintessential everyday culinary staple that you constantly find yourself rushing back to the grocery store to buy, almost always wrapped tightly in unnecessary, wasteful plastic. Growing them at home creates a sharp, brilliant green vertical contrast to the soft, heavily spreading leaves of your other crops. They effortlessly add a touch of clean, modern, structural geometry to your patio space while saving you money every single week. They are rugged, highly resilient, and arguably the most productive cut-and-come-again crop in existence. Their unique biology allows them to safely store immense amounts of energy in their shallow white bulb base beneath the soil. When you sharply snip the green tops for a meal, the plant does not die. Instead, it immediately goes to work, aggressively pushing out fresh, vibrant new green growth in a matter of days, providing a truly perpetual, unstoppable harvest cycle. Because of their surprisingly shallow, tightly clustered root systems, green onions thrive beautifully in long, narrow composite or resin planters. You can pack dozens of these slender plants tightly together without causing any detrimental competition for nutrients. The sleek, elongated lines of a modern rectangular planter perfectly complement their straight, upright architectural form, allowing you to create a highly productive wall of green that takes up almost zero horizontal space on your crowded deck railing. This container quickly becomes your dedicated, perpetual garnish station. Whenever you are slowly simmering a warm, comforting bowl of soup, baking a loaded potato, or simply preparing a quick weekend breakfast, a 10-second trip to the patio with a pair of scissors provides a bright burst of fresh, sharp flavor. You completely eliminate the need to ever buy them again, firmly establishing a small but significant piece of financial independence right outside your kitchen door. Coming in at number 11 are gorgeous garlic chives. If you truly want to elevate your home cooking with premium ingredients, this herb is an absolute must-have that is surprisingly difficult and expensive to find fresh in standard grocery stores. They grow in a dense, grassy, dark green clump that adds incredible texture to your garden. By late summer, they produce stunning, star-shaped white flowers that look breathtaking swaying in the breeze, attracting beneficial pollinators to your patio. This remarkable plant is a hardy, relentless perennial food engine. It focuses the vast majority of its early energy into developing a massive, incredibly resilient underground root structure. This specific biological adaptation means it will happily survive harsh, freezing winter temperatures under a blanket of snow. Once spring arrives, it aggressively pushes up completely new, densely packed, flavor-filled shoots year after year with absolutely zero effort, planting, or ongoing maintenance required on your part. A wide, relatively shallow, beautifully glazed ceramic bowl is the absolute perfect home for a thriving clump of garlic chives. The heavy ceramic material holds moisture exceptionally well, which these shallow-rooted plants highly prefer. Meanwhile, the wide circular opening allows the central clump to naturally expand, divide, and multiply its yield over the years. Visually, the beautiful, reflective glaze of the ceramic pot perfectly offsets the delicate, matte, grassy texture of the towering herb. You will very quickly find this to be the most heavily utilized versatile ingredient in your entire mini supermarket. The flat, tender green leaves carry a profound, savory, deeply aromatic garlic flavor that instantly enhances everything you cook. From elevating a simple, quiet morning omelet to bringing authentic depth to a complex, slow-cooked evening stir-fry, these chives provide restaurant-quality flavor, harvested at their absolute peak freshness without ever forcing you to leave the comfort of your home. From the rapid-fire harvests of radishes to the perennial power of garlic chives, we have established the essential flavors of your patio grocery store. But as we break into our top 10, we are shifting our focus to the foundational staples, the nutrient-dense leafy greens that form the base of your daily meals. Before we look at an incredibly crisp, cool-weather superfood, I would love to hear from you. How much are you currently spending on fresh produce every week? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you are ready to take control of your food supply, make sure to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Now, let's stock the produce aisle, starting at number 10. We proudly feature spinach. We have all experienced the deep frustration and guilt of throwing away half a plastic tub of incredibly expensive, slimy organic spinach that spoiled too quickly. Growing it yourself offers a quiet, deeply grounding aesthetic. You cultivate a single, beautiful pot overflowing with rich, dark green, glossy, spade-shaped leaves that brings a profound feeling of deep, organic nourishment and vibrant life to your relaxing outdoor living space. Spinach is a highly efficient, fast-growing, cool-weather crop that despises the extreme heat of midsummer. By strategically growing it in the brisk temperatures of early spring or late fall, the plant happily channels its energy into producing dense, highly vitamin-rich leaves rather than bolting to flower. Utilizing the continuous cut-and-come-again harvesting method signals the plant's biology to endlessly push rapid, fresh new growth directly from its central crown, multiplying your overall yield dramatically. A wide, shallow window box made of durable composite material or dark resin is the absolute ideal choice here. Spinach roots do not dive particularly deep into the earth, but they passionately love to spread horizontally across the surface. The composite material retains the cool, consistent moisture that spinach desperately loves, while the long, elongated shape gives you ample, highly efficient surface area to meticulously harvest row after row of tender leaves without wasting deep soil. As the beautiful leaves fully mature in the crisp, cool autumn air, they become incredibly tender and are densely packed with vital iron and essential nutrients. You will find immense joy in harvesting handful by handful of these sweet, delicate leaves for your slow, highly mindful mornings. blending them into fresh, vibrant green smoothies, or tossing them into a warm, deeply comforting harvest salad right on your patio completely redefines the concept of farm-to-table dining. Number 9 on our list is the spectacular Swiss chard. If you strongly desire to replace expensive grocery store cooking greens while simultaneously cultivating a breathtaking masterpiece of natural art, this is undeniably your plant. The massive, glossy green, deeply veined leaves are gracefully supported by stunning, stained glass stems in brilliant shades of fiery crimson, bright gold, neon pink, and deep magenta that physically light up your entire backyard when the afternoon sun hits them. Swiss chard is a true, undisputed biological powerhouse in the container garden. It is remarkably heat-tolerant compared to delicate spinach, yet incredibly cold-hardy when autumn frosts arrive. This unique resilience means a single, well-timed planting acts as a relentless, unstoppable food machine. It provides continuous, heavy, highly nutritious harvests for over 8 full months of the year without ever needing to be replanted, offering an absolutely staggering return on your initial seed investment. A large, heavy, beautifully glazed ceramic pot is highly recommended for supporting this massive plant. The thick walls of the heavy ceramic provide excellent thermal mass, acting as an insulating blanket that keeps the delicate root zone completely stable during wild, unpredictable temperature swings. Visually, choosing a deep cobalt blue or rustic earthy green glaze provides a breathtaking, highly contrasting backdrop that forces those neon, jewel-toned chard stems to pop with undeniable, electric visual intensity. Within a few short weeks, you will be walking out to your sunlit porch to gently clip these vibrant, incredibly crisp stalks. They bring an unbelievable burst of brilliant color and a mild, deeply sweet or earthy crunch to your cozy family dinners. They perfectly and completely replace the need for expensive, store-bought leafy greens in your rustic autumn soups, hearty stews, and warm sautés, saving you money while dramatically elevating the visual appeal of your food. Coming in at number 8 is the highly celebrated superfood kale. Consistently purchasing high-quality, organic kale at the supermarket represents a heavy, ongoing financial burden. However, growing it yourself instantly transforms your modest patio into a high-end, premium organic market. Its deeply blistered, highly textured, architectural blue-green leaves stand exceptionally tall and majestic, bringing a statuesque, almost prehistoric, deeply captivating beauty to the structural foundation of your entire container garden aesthetic. Kale is virtually indestructible and biologically designed to survive extreme adversity. Its remarkable biology allows it to aggressively thrive in the blistering summer heat and actively sweeten when brutally hit by freezing winter snow. It focuses all its immense energy into massive, continuous leaf production. This allows you to mindfully harvest the lower, mature leaves week after week, while the central crown keeps reaching tirelessly for the sky, generating a seemingly impossible volume of food. Because it is a notoriously heavy feeder that eventually grows into a massive, top-heavy plant, it absolutely demands a large 10 to 15-gallon heavy-duty fabric grow bag. The incredibly breathable fabric naturally air prunes the extensive, aggressive root system. This prevents the roots from hopelessly circling and choking the plant, ensuring the towering kale has the massive, healthy, fibrous root system it desperately needs to securely anchor and nutritionally support its towering, heavy green canopy. This is a profound agricultural investment that pays you daily, highly nutritious dividends. You will routinely practice the slow-living, mindful ritual of carefully breaking off the largest, darkest leaves one by one all season long. These hardy, deeply flavorful leaves are absolutely perfect for gently massaging into fresh, vibrant, nutrient-dense salads or slowly baking into crispy, guilt-free kale chips in your warm oven, providing ultimate organic luxury for mere pennies. At number 7, we have highly productive bush cucumbers. Standard store-bought cucumbers are typically heavily coated in an unnatural, shiny, edible wax just to survive grueling cross-country shipping routes, heavily masking a bland, severely watery flavor. Growing a compact bush variety directly on your patio offers a vibrant, lush, sprawling canopy of oversized green leaves, beautifully dotted with bright, cheerful yellow flowers, and hanging, incredibly crisp, bright green fruit that looks genuinely spectacular. Unlike traditional, aggressive vining cucumbers that require massive, highly complicated, and space-consuming wooden trellises, bush varieties are specifically genetically bred to be compact, high-yield food engines. They completely bypass the need for excessive vine growth, pouring all their biological energy directly into developing dozens of crunchy, heavy fruits on very short, dense branches. This efficiently turns a remarkably small patio footprint into a highly concentrated, incredibly lucrative point of organic food production. A heavy-duty 5-gallon thick plastic resin pot, smartly equipped with a small, highly supportive circular metal tomato cage, is the absolute perfect environment. The heavy plastic resin effectively holds the deep, consistent moisture that cucumbers desperately need to remain crisp and prevent bitter flavors from developing. Meanwhile, the small metal cage gently supports the branches, keeping the heavy developing fruit cleanly elevated off the damp soil, preventing rot and maximizing crucial airflow. The ultimate reward is unmatched, explosive crunch, and profound, refreshing hydration. You will happily pluck perfectly ripe, beautifully sun-warmed cucumbers straight from the thick stem. Because they are homegrown, there is absolutely no waxy, bitter skin to painstakingly peel away. You simply slice them directly into your vibrant summer salads, or drop thick slices into a cold pitcher of ice water for the ultimate, profoundly refreshing afternoon drink on a sweltering summer day. Number 6 is the deeply luxurious, visually striking eggplant. Perfect, unblemished organic eggplants are incredibly expensive and highly prone to devastating bruising on crowded grocery store shelves. When grown in a sunny container, they are arguably the most beautiful vegetable in the entire garden. They boast soft, velvety, purple-tinged leaves and bear incredibly sleek, glossy, jewel-like dark purple fruits that look exactly like high-end, meticulously polished ornaments hanging gracefully from sturdy, dark stems. Eggplants are biological heat seekers of the highest order. They require immense, relentless warmth to properly fuel the aggressive production of their dense, incredibly heavy fruits. When their intense thermal needs are finally met, they act as highly efficient producers. They offer a rich, profoundly meaty texture that naturally serves as a fantastic, deeply satisfying, and highly filling substitute for expensive meats in a vegetarian, entirely self-sufficient, slow-living culinary kitchen. They absolutely thrive best in a large, heavy, unglazed terracotta pot or a remarkably thick-walled, dark resin tub placed deliberately in the absolute hottest, sunniest corner of your patio. The thick, dense walls aggressively absorb the intense, unforgiving daytime sun. They then slowly and steadily radiate that essential, deeply trapped heat directly into the root zone throughout the cool night, perfectly replicating their native, sweltering tropical environment to maximize explosive fruit development. Harvesting a flawless, heavy, incredibly glossy eggplant from your own quiet patio is a moment of pure, unadulterated culinary triumph. Slicing through the dense, sponge-like flesh to slowly create a rich, bubbling, heavily sauced, slow-baked eggplant parmesan provides a deeply comforting, high-end, restaurant-quality meal. Knowing this entire masterpiece was sourced entirely from a single pot in your peaceful backyard completely redefines the concept of luxury dining and absolute food independence. We have just explored some of the most beautiful and rewarding crops you can grow. But as we officially cross into our top 5, the stakes get much higher. We are leaving the standard vegetables behind and entering the elite class of container gardening. These final 5 plants are the undisputed heavyweights of the backyard supermarket. We are talking about relentless, high-speed food machines that will literally replace your weekly grocery hauls. If you thought a container garden couldn't reliably feed a family, prepare to have your mind completely changed. Let's enter the top 5, starting with an absolute summer staple. Breaking into our prestigious top 5, we have vibrant bell peppers. Buying perfectly ripe, wildly colorful organic bell peppers constantly feels like a massive luxury purchase, often costing several dollars for a single pepper. Growing them yourself is an absolute visual delight. The plant rapidly becomes a sturdy, vibrant green, miniature tree heavily laden with bright, shiny, blocky fruits that slowly, miraculously transition from deep green to brilliant, glowing shades of red, yellow, or bright orange. The ultimate biological secret to the bell pepper's massive productivity is immense patience paired with unrelenting heat. The plant cautiously first builds a strong, woody framework before aggressively pouring all its stored energy into swelling the fruit. As the peppers sit patiently on the vine and change color, their biological makeup drastically shifts, dramatically increasing their vitamin C content and replacing any harsh, bitter compounds with pure, incredibly complex, mouth-watering sweetness. A standard, incredibly basic 5-gallon black plastic nursery pot is actually an incredible, highly functional, expert choice here. The dark black plastic actively acts as a powerful, relentless thermal battery. It aggressively absorbs the intense summer sun to keep the trapped soil incredibly warm. This intense, constant root heat is the precise, absolutely vital biological trigger the plant desperately needs to successfully push the heavy peppers to fully ripen and completely change color. You will completely and permanently stop buying overpriced, heavily traveled peppers. Walking out to your quiet deck to forcefully snap a heavy, perfectly ripe, beautifully sun-warmed red pepper off the thick stem is a deeply satisfying, grounding ritual. They are incredibly crisp, actively dripping with sweet, flavorful juice, and are instantly ready to be deeply roasted over an open, roaring flame to heavily elevate your summer fajitas and vibrant weekend barbecues, proving that the absolute best ingredients are grown, not bought. At number 4 are the incredibly prolific bush beans. If your only culinary experience with green beans is the soggy, heavily muted, painfully dull versions found in aluminum grocery store cans, you are missing out on a revelation. A container of bush beans rapidly creates a lush, highly textured, beautifully rounded canopy of soft green leaves. This canopy is soon dotted with delicate, intricate white and purple blossoms that quickly transform into hundreds of slender, brilliantly crisp green pods. Bush beans are truly the ultimate, highly advanced, self-sustaining food machine. Through a brilliant, incredibly complex symbiotic relationship with natural soil bacteria, they actually possess the ability to pull essential nitrogen directly from the surrounding air, literally manufacturing their own high-quality fertilizer. They grow with shocking, explosive speed, offering a massive, highly concentrated harvest that completely and utterly overwhelms the container in just under 60 days. Providing a massive return on investment. A wide, elongated rectangular plastic trough or a beautifully rustic, large, shallow wooden half-barrel is the absolute ideal strategy. Beans have relatively shallow root systems, but desperately need ample horizontal space to freely spread their dense, bushy canopy. This wide, highly open container style deliberately allows you to plant them very densely, creating a thick, highly productive microclimate that heavily shades the soil, conserves precious water, and dramatically multiplies your final harvest yield. The ultimate harvest is incredibly abundant and deeply, profoundly rewarding. You will happily find yourself sitting peacefully on your porch, gently parting the soft leaves to uncover massive, heavy clusters of incredibly crisp, snapping fresh beans. Sautéed very lightly in a hot pan with a touch of crushed garlic and a heavy squeeze of fresh lemon, they offer a bright, explosive, snapping texture that completely and permanently redefines what a fresh green bean should actually taste like. Coming in at number 3 are the indispensable, heavily sustaining potatoes. Buying heavy, dirt-covered, plastic-wrapped bags of expensive potatoes that often prematurely rot in the dark corners of your pantry is a frustrating chore. Growing them at home is an absolute, deeply fulfilling revelation. Above ground, they rapidly produce a sprawling, beautiful, deep green bush adorned with delicate flowers, completely and masterfully hiding the massive, starchy, highly valuable treasure swelling silently just beneath the rich soil. Potatoes are incredibly efficient, profoundly powerful calorie generators for the self-sufficient home. A single, humble seed potato brilliantly utilizes the dark, loose, highly organic environment of a deep container to endlessly push out underground stems, biologically known as stolons. This results in a massive, aggressive multiplication of tubers. They actively provide dense, highly filling, and incredibly nutritious sustenance, definitively making them the ultimate, unshakable pillar of a reliable, self-sufficient, grocery-replacing container garden. You absolutely and unconditionally must use a highly breathable, deep, 15-gallon fabric grow bag for this specific crop. Hard plastic pots will inevitably trap water and completely rot the tubers, but the thick, porous fabric ensures perfect, life-saving airflow and flawless drainage. More importantly, when it is finally time to harvest, the flexible, lightweight bag allows you to simply tip it completely over, completely eliminating the painful, back-breaking labor of digging blindly with a heavy steel shovel. The highly anticipated harvest day is pure, undeniable agricultural magic. It genuinely feels like unearthing hidden, priceless gold. You will excitedly spill the dark, rich soil onto a wide tarp, running your bare hands through the cool earth to excitedly reveal dozens of perfectly smooth, flawless, organic potatoes. Roasting these freshly dug, homegrown beauties yields a profoundly creamy, buttery interior and an impossibly crispy skin that dull, store-bought potatoes can absolutely never, ever hope to achieve. At number 2, we proudly present the legendary, fiercely productive zucchini. If you truly want to see a massive, undeniable return on your financial and physical investment, this is the undisputed king of the patio. It is a visually imposing, highly dramatic plant, prominently featuring massive, prehistoric-looking, deeply lobed leaves and stunning, giant, fully edible golden blossoms. It brings a wildly abundant, beautifully untamed, and deeply lush aesthetic to your otherwise structured outdoor living space. Zucchini is a relentless, high-speed, utterly unstoppable biological engine. Once it successfully begins producing fruit, it aggressively pulls massive, staggering amounts of water and soil nutrients to visibly swell its heavy fruits overnight. A single, highly healthy, well-fed container plant can easily and consistently produce enough dense food to comfortably feed your entire family and still gracefully leave you with a massive, overflowing surplus to generously give away to your amazed friends and neighbors. Because of its massive, unrelenting water and nutrient requirements, a truly massive, oversized container is absolutely mandatory. A 20-gallon heavy resin tub or a thick, heavily insulated wooden half-barrel provides the sheer necessary volume of rich, moisture-retaining compost required to adequately fuel this hungry beast. The heavy, wide container firmly anchors the massive, sail-like canopy against violent summer thunderstorms, while simultaneously holding enough deep water to keep the sprawling plant from severely wilting in the afternoon heat. This incredible plant is the ultimate unrivaled grocery store replacement. You will find yourself excitedly harvesting heavy, absolutely flawless, beautifully glossy green squash every few days. From aggressively grilling thick, heavily charred slices at a vibrant weekend patio barbecue to peacefully baking warm, deeply spiced zucchini bread on a quiet Sunday morning, this single powerful plant effortlessly provides endless, high-quality, profoundly delicious meals sourced straight from your own highly productive backyard supermarket. Securing the absolute, undisputed #1 spot on our mini supermarket list is the incredible, indeterminate cherry tomato. There is genuinely nothing quite as visually stunning or deeply satisfying as a towering, aggressively vining tomato plant heavily laden with massive, cascading trusses of brilliant red, orange, and bright yellow jewels. It perfectly fills the warm, heavy summer air with that highly unmistakable, deeply earthy, profoundly nostalgic tomato vine fragrance that instantly transports you to a simpler time. The crucial botanical term, indeterminate, simply means this aggressive plant has absolutely no biological stop button. It is a continuous, unstoppable, upward vining food factory. It will relentlessly grow taller, continuously produce fresh new blossoms, and aggressively ripen hundreds of intensely sweet fruits every single day. From the very early days of summer until the very first hard, killing frost of brutal winter, it offers the highest absolute yield per square foot of any container plant in existence. To properly and safely support this massive, endless vertical growth, a wide 15-gallon fabric grow bag, expertly paired with a heavy-duty, exceptionally tall metal trellis, is the absolute ultimate setup. The highly breathable fabric bag guarantees the massive root system will continuously air prune, creating thousands of fibrous roots highly capable of rapidly absorbing heavy nutrients. The remarkably sturdy metal trellis expertly manages the wild, towering vines, efficiently turning a chaotic plant into a highly organized wall of fruit. This magnificent plant alone will completely and permanently sever your heavy reliance on the overpriced grocery store produce aisle. You will absolutely never again pay $5 heavily taxed dollars for a sad plastic pint of flavorless, mealy tomatoes. Instead, you will peacefully walk out to your quiet patio every single evening, joyfully plucking beautifully sun-warmed, bursting with juice cherry tomatoes right off the heavy vine, eating them like candy in the ultimate, triumphant expression of the abundant, self-sufficient life. That wraps up our list of the 15 container vegetables that turn your backyard into a working grocery store. Which of these abundant crops are you planting first to build your own produce aisle? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But please don't go anywhere just yet, because our masterclass is far from over. You now have the exact blueprint to create a highly productive, money-saving sanctuary. But let's face a quiet reality of gardening. Maintaining this level of heavy production usually means buying new seeds, starting delicate transplants, and starting the cycle over from scratch every single spring. What if you could step away from that annual chore? What if you only had to plant your garden once and nature simply did the rest of the work for you year after year? Right now, we are shifting our focus from pure yield to ultimate, effortless sustainability. Let's dive straight into the top 15 self-seeding vegetables that naturally drop their own seeds and return every season, transforming your patio into a perpetual, never-ending container garden. Let's look at our first self-seeding crop. At number 15, we have arugula, the peppery salad green that provides the perfect introduction to self-seeding container gardens. For most American gardeners, arugula is a source of mild frustration because it bolts or goes to seed incredibly quickly the moment the early summer heat hits the patio. Instead of getting angry and ripping the plant out of your pot, This rapid life cycle is exactly what you want to exploit. By allowing just one or two plants to produce their delicate white flowers, you set the stage for an endless, zero-effort harvest. The mechanics of self-seeding arugula in a container are remarkably simple. Once the flowers fade, they form small, slender seed pods. As the pods dry in the late summer sun, they shatter, raining hundreds of tiny seeds directly back into the potting soil below. Because you are growing in a confined container rather than a vast open yard, the seeds remain highly concentrated in one perfectly managed spot, rather than blowing away or getting lost in the lawn grass. The harvest benefits of this natural cycle are spectacular. Arugula seeds possess a brilliant biological clock. They will naturally lie dormant in the container soil during the scorching heat of July and August. The moment the cool, damp weather of September rolls in, the soil temperature drops, triggering massive germination. You will suddenly find your empty backyard pots overflowing with a dense carpet of tender, baby arugula. The most fascinating aspect of self-seeding arugula is its extreme cold tolerance. Any seeds that do not sprout in the autumn will comfortably survive the freezing winter buried in your container soil, automatically waking up to provide your very first spring salad long before you even think about buying seeds. At number 14 is cilantro, an essential culinary herb that practically demands to be grown as a self-seeding container crop. Throughout the United States, gardeners constantly struggle with cilantro because it utterly despises being transplanted and has a notorious habit of bolting into tall, lanky flowers at the first sign of warm weather. When you embrace its desire to reproduce and dedicate a single patio pot entirely to its life cycle, you completely eliminate the stress of trying to keep it alive. You simply let it do what it naturally wants to do. To create a perpetual cilantro pot, choose a deep 10-gallon container and place it in a sunny corner of your deck. When the plant inevitably sends up its lacy white flowers, leave them alone. These flowers will quickly transform into heavy, round green seeds that eventually dry into a brown crust. As the autumn breezes brush across your backyard, the plant will naturally sway, dropping a heavy concentration of seeds straight down into the rich potting mix, perfectly replanting itself for the following year. This self-seeding process offers an incredible culinary double harvest. Before the seeds drop, you can actually harvest them. Those round little spheres are coriander, a warm, citrusy spice essential for curries, marinades, and pickling. By letting the plant go to seed, you get fresh cilantro leaves for your summer salsas and dried coriander spice for your winter pantry, all from the exact same pot. The ultimate reward comes the following spring. Because cilantro seeds possess a hard outer shell, they easily survive harsh winters in outdoor containers. As the spring soil warms, they will germinate in staggered waves, providing you with a thick, continuous canopy of fresh herbs without you ever having to dig a single hole. At number 13, we have dill, the undisputed king of the summer pickling season and a spectacular volunteer plant for any patio or porch. Standard dill can grow surprisingly tall, often reaching 3 to 4 feet, which makes it a striking architectural centerpiece for a large backyard container. While many gardeners meticulously snip off the delicate foliage to keep the plant compact, the true magic of dill is unlocked when you allow it to mature and produce its massive, umbrella-shaped yellow flower heads. Growing self-seeding dill in a container requires a heavy pot to anchor the tall stalks against the wind. When those magnificent yellow umbels finally dry out, they become loaded with flat, lightweight seeds. Because the seeds are easily carried by the wind, they will not only reseed their own container, but will often gracefully drift into neighboring pots on your patio. This creates a charming cottage garden aesthetic where wispy ferns of fresh dill unexpectedly pop up alongside your tomatoes and peppers the following spring. Having dill continuously self-seed in your container garden is a massive culinary advantage. Because dill loses its pungent flavor rapidly after being cut, store-bought dill simply cannot compare to the intense aroma of freshly harvested fronds. Having a perpetual supply sprouting on your deck means you can instantly elevate your potato salads, grilled fish, or homemade cucumber pickles exactly when you need it, at the absolute peak of freshness. Perhaps the most magical biological benefit of letting your dill go to seed is its irresistible pull on wildlife. The giant flower heads are a beacon for the black swallowtail butterfly. By allowing the plant to self-seed, you turn your container garden into a vital, thriving nursery for some of nature's most beautiful pollinators. At number 12 is borage, a breathtaking edible flower that thrives as a self-seeding annual, solving a major problem for container gardeners. In a traditional open-ground garden, borage is so prolific at dropping seeds that it is often considered mildly invasive, aggressively spreading across the yard and crowding out smaller vegetables. However, when you restrict it to a large container on a concrete patio or a wooden deck, you perfectly harness its incredible reproductive energy while completely containing its spread. It becomes a permanent, self-sustaining fixture of your garden without ever becoming a weed. To successfully host borage, dedicate a wide 5-gallon pot to the plant and leave it undisturbed year-round. It will produce fuzzy, robust stems and an absolute explosion of vivid, star-shaped blue flowers. As the flowers mature, they produce heavy, hard black seeds that drop straight down into the soil below. These tough seeds are biologically engineered to survive brutal freezing temperatures, lying in wait beneath the snow to reliably germinate the moment the spring sun warms your patio containers. The harvest from a borage pot is an absolute delight for home chefs and mixologists. The striking blue flowers are completely edible and possess a remarkably crisp, refreshing flavor that tastes exactly like a fresh cucumber. They are the ultimate high-end garnish, frequently frozen into ice cubes to elevate summer cocktails or tossed fresh into salads to add a pop of vibrant color. The greatest advantage of keeping a perpetual pot of borage in your backyard is its legendary reputation as a companion plant. The continuous blooms act as an incredibly powerful magnet for honeybees and bumblebees, ensuring that every other fruiting vegetable in your container garden is thoroughly and consistently pollinated. At number 11, we have calendula, commonly known as pot marigold, a relentless, frost-hardy flower that will effortlessly sustain itself in your containers for decades. While many patio flowers require constant deadheading, fertilizing, and replanting to maintain their color, calendula prefers a much wilder approach. It is one of the most reliable self-seeders in the botanical world, capable of transforming a single, inexpensive packet of seeds into a lifelong, perpetual harvest of brilliant orange and yellow blooms right on your back porch. Because its root system is relatively shallow, calendula is exceptionally well suited for container constraints. It thrives in standard window boxes, railing planters, or decorative shallow bowls scattered around the deck. The magic happens when the vibrant flowers dry and fall away, revealing incredibly unique, crescent-shaped seeds that look almost like small, curled caterpillars. As the plant gently shakes in the autumn wind, these heavy seeds tumble directly into the planter box, instantly burying themselves in the potting mix to prepare for the following year. Cultivating a self-seeding patch of calendula provides a massive, continuous harvest for the home apothecary. The bright petals are entirely edible, offering a slightly tangy, peppery flavor that brightens up winter soups and summer salads. More importantly, the flowers are packed with powerful medicinal compounds and are highly prized in America for creating soothing, homemade skin salves, healing balms, and botanical teas. What makes calendula an absolute must-have for the perpetual container garden is its staggering resistance to cold weather. The seeds will aggressively germinate in soil temperatures that would kill most other plants. You will often see fresh green calendula seedlings pushing up through the soil of your patio pots in very early spring, long before you have even considered stepping outside to start your gardening season. It's absolutely amazing how much time and money you can save just by letting your container garden manage itself. If you are enjoying these lazy gardening secrets and want to learn more ways to maximize your backyard harvests, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We have plenty more space-saving tips coming your way. Now, let's move back into the countdown with a climbing flower that knows exactly how to survive the winter. At number 10 is the nasturtium, a phenomenally vibrant, sprawling plant that offers one of the most reliable self-seeding cycles for any patio or porch container. Many gardeners buy expensive flats of nasturtiums every single spring to drape over the edges of their backyard pots. But once you realize how effortlessly this plant reproduces, you will never buy it again. Nasturtiums are biologically programmed to leave a heavy, durable deposit of seeds in your container soil, ensuring an even more spectacular floral display the following year without any human intervention. The secret to the nasturtium's perpetual return lies in the sheer size of its seeds. Unlike the microscopic dust produced by many garden flowers, nasturtium seeds are massive, roughly the size of a dried chickpea. When the brilliant trumpet-shaped flowers fade, these heavy wrinkled seeds drop directly straight down into the soil of your planter. Because they are so large and heavy, they easily settle deep into the potting mix, protected by the fading autumn leaves of the mother plant. This thick natural blanket completely insulates them from the freezing winter snow. For the culinary container gardener, having a permanent pot of nasturtiums is like having a gourmet garnish on demand. Both the lily pad-shaped leaves and the striking flowers are entirely edible, delivering a sharp, peppery bite that mimics watercress. Tossing a few fresh nasturtium flowers into a summer salad instantly elevates a basic meal into a restaurant-quality dish right there on your back deck. Beyond its culinary value, the greatest benefit of a self-seeding nasturtium pot is its role as a botanical bodyguard. They are famously used as a trap crop, naturally drawing aphids away from your precious tomatoes and peppers, making them an essential, self-sustaining defender of your container garden. At number 9, we have mustard greens, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the self-seeding leafy vegetables. For gardeners looking to cultivate a massive amount of food in patio containers, mustard greens are often overlooked because they tend to bolt into bright yellow flowers when the intense heat of early summer arrives. However, by allowing these resilient plants to complete their life cycle in a large backyard pot, you are actually setting up an automated, high-yield leafy green factory that will produce 2 distinct harvests every single year. Mustard greens are incredibly prolific seeders. When the yellow flowers transition into long, thin seed pods, they dry rapidly in the sun. A single plant in a 10-gallon container can produce thousands of seeds. When the pods shatter, they cover the surface of the potting soil. This triggers the first automated harvest. As the late summer temperatures begin to cool off, the seeds will germinate instantly, providing a lush, dense carpet of baby mustard greens just in time for your autumn salads. What makes mustard greens truly exceptional is what happens to the seeds that do not sprout in the fall. They are incredibly cold hardy. They will happily lie dormant under a blanket of winter snow, securely frozen in your patio pots. The very moment the spring soil thaws and reaches just 40 degrees, they wake up. You will have a container overflowing with spicy, nutrient-dense greens weeks before you can even safely plant tomatoes. In the kitchen, having a continuous, self-sown supply of mustard greens is a massive culinary asset. The young, tender leaves add a brilliant, horseradish-like kick to fresh salads, while the larger, mature leaves are an absolute staple in Southern American cooking, perfect for slow braising with garlic and smoked meats. At number 8 is loose leaf lettuce, a staple of the American diet that possesses a surprisingly aggressive and highly effective self-seeding mechanism. Most patio gardeners view lettuce strictly as a short-lived spring crop. The moment the leaves begin to turn bitter and the plant stretches upward to flower, they pull it out and throw it in the compost bin. By breaking this habit and leaving just one single lettuce plant to mature in a corner pot on your deck, you can guarantee a free, endless supply of fresh salad greens year after year. The reproductive strategy of lettuce is completely different from heavy-seeded plants like nasturtiums. When lettuce bolts, it produces tall stalks topped with tiny yellow flowers. These flowers quickly transform into fluffy, white seed heads that look exactly like miniature dandelions. As the wind blows across your porch, these lightweight seeds take flight. They will not only reseed their original container, but will gently drift and settle into the soil of every other pot on your patio. This airborne seeding method creates a beautiful, chaotic, and incredibly productive container garden. The following spring, you will find perfect, crisp little rosettes of lettuce emerging alongside your dormant perennials, at the base of your potted fruit trees, and tucked into the corners of your window boxes. Because loose-leaf varieties do not form tight heads, you can practice a cut-and-come-again harvest, snipping fresh leaves from these volunteer plants all across your backyard. Allowing your lettuce to self-seed also solves the problem of poor germination rates. Store-bought lettuce seeds lose their viability very quickly in the packet. But by letting nature do the work, you are guaranteeing that the freshest, strongest, and most vigorous seeds are planting themselves exactly where they want to grow. At number 7, we have red amaranth, an absolutely spectacular, towering plant that produces a mind-boggling amount of seeds. If you want a plant that makes a bold, dramatic statement in a large patio container while simultaneously providing an endless supply of highly nutritious food, amaranth is unmatched. It is completely unfazed by the brutal heat of the American summer, standing tall and vibrant while delicate greens wither and die. And once you plant it in a pot on your deck, you will quite literally never have to plant it again. The reproductive capability of amaranth is almost terrifying. A single plant, towering above a 15-gallon container, can produce over 100,000 microscopic seeds. The seeds are held tightly within massive, cascading plumes of crimson flowers that look like velvet ropes hanging over your patio. As autumn sets in and the plumes dry, the tiny black seeds rain down by the thousands, heavily saturating the potting soil with enough genetic material to last for years. In terms of food production, self-seeding amaranth is an absolute powerhouse. The young, tender leaves are a brilliant, striking red and can be harvested all summer long. They're traditionally cooked much like spinach, offering a rich, earthy flavor that holds up perfectly in stir-fries, soups, and curries. Because the plant naturally drops so many seeds, your container will become a dense jungle of edible foliage every spring. The greatest advantage of keeping a perpetual pot of red amaranth is its sheer visual impact. It blurs the line between a highly productive vegetable and a breathtaking ornamental centerpiece, transforming a boring corner of your backyard patio into a vibrant, tropical-looking oasis that automatically regenerates itself every single year. At number 6 is Okra, often known as mountain spinach, a stunning and highly practical self-seeding alternative to traditional spinach. For the container gardener, growing standard spinach is often a deeply frustrating experience. It demands perfect, cool weather and bolts the second the sun gets too warm, leaving you with empty pots by June. Okra completely solves this problem. It is a highly heat-tolerant, vigorous leafy green that thrives in patio containers, producing a massive harvest before gracefully dropping its seeds to secure the next generation. To successfully establish a permanent stand of Okra, plant it in a large, deep container on your porch. Unlike ground-hugging spinach, Okra grows upright, often reaching 4 to 5 feet tall, producing stunning arrow-shaped leaves that come in brilliant shades of deep plum, magenta, and chartreuse. When the plant eventually matures, it produces papery, disc-like seed bracts along its tall stems. As these dry in the late summer wind, they flutter down to the soil, burying themselves perfectly in the potting mix. The culinary value of a self-seeding Okra pot is immense. The leaves taste remarkably similar to standard spinach, but with a slightly saltier, more mineral-rich profile. Because it handles the heat so well, you can continue harvesting the colorful leaves for fresh salads and sautés deep into the summer months, long after your regular spinach has completely died off. The most exciting feature of Okra is how aggressively it volunteers the following spring. Because the seeds are encased in a protective papery shell, they easily survive the harshest winters in a frozen container. When the spring sun hits your patio, your pot will explode with vibrant purple and green seedlings, giving you an effortless, highly ornamental, and delicious harvest year after year. We have covered leafy greens that scatter their seeds in the wind and flowers that drop their heavy shells into the soil. But as we enter the top 5, we are shifting our focus to the heavy hitters. These are the fruiting plants and the absolute survivors that drop entire pods and fruits right onto your patio, creating an unstoppable, zero-effort food forest in your containers. At number 5, we have radishes, a plant that offers one of the best-kept secrets in the container gardening world. Most backyard gardeners view radishes strictly as a quick, 30-day root crop. You pull them out of the potting soil, eat the spicy red root, and the plant is gone forever. But if you resist the urge to harvest every single radish in your patio pot and simply let 1 or 2 plants continue to grow, you unlock a completely automated secondary harvest that will magically replant itself. When a radish is left in the soil past its prime, it bolts, sending up tall stalks covered in beautiful, delicate, cross-shaped flowers. As these flowers drop their petals, they produce crisp, green seed pods that look like tiny chili peppers. If you leave these pods on the plant until late summer, they will eventually turn brown, dry out, and shatter. Hundreds of tiny round radish seeds will rain down into the container. Because they drop so late in the season, they perfectly time themselves for a massive, free autumn harvest in that exact same pot. The absolute best part of this self-seeding process is that you get an incredible bonus crop while you wait. Before the green pods dry out, they are entirely edible. These radish pods are a culinary delicacy, offering a phenomenal juicy crunch with the exact same peppery bite as the root itself. You can snack on them right on your back deck, toss them into stir-fries, or pickle them for a unique summer treat. By letting your radishes go to seed, you transform a one-time root harvest into a continuous cycle of edible flowers, crunchy seed pods, and an automatically replanted autumn crop, making it a masterpiece of patio efficiency. At number 4 are garlic chives, an incredibly resilient perennial herb that uses self-seeding to transform a sparse patio pot into an impenetrable, lifelong culinary asset. Buying fresh bundles of herbs at the grocery store is wildly expensive, and many traditional container herbs struggle to survive the intense American winter. Garlic chives solve both problems simultaneously. While they do slowly expand their root clumps over time, their true power lies in their aggressive ability to drop seeds, ensuring that your container becomes thicker, denser, and more productive every single year. Dumping the heavy black seeds directly into the base of the mother plant. The culinary value of a dense, permanent pod of garlic chives cannot be overstated. Unlike standard chives, which have a mild onion flavor, these flat leaves deliver a robust, savory garlic punch without the hassle of actually planting and digging up underground garlic bulbs. You simply walk out to your patio with a pair of scissors, snip a handful to top your baked potatoes, dumplings, or morning eggs, and the plant instantly regrows. The most practical benefit of this intense self-seeding behavior is weed control. As the garlic chives continually drop seeds into their own pot year after year, they create a living mat so thick and dense that no competing weed seed could ever find bare soil to germinate. At number 3, we have ground cherries, a uniquely delicious fruiting plant that was biologically engineered by nature to plant itself. Also known as husk cherries, these sprawling plants produce small, golden yellow fruits wrapped in delicate, paper-like lanterns. They are notoriously difficult to cultivate from seeds indoors, requiring heat mats, grow lights, and months of careful attention. However, when grown in a large patio container and allowed to follow their natural life cycle, they become one of the most reliable and abundant volunteer plants you will ever experience. The self-seeding mechanism of the ground cherry is actually tied directly to how you harvest it. You never pick a ground cherry off the branch. You have to wait for the plant to drop the fruit onto the soil, which signals that it is perfectly ripe. Inevitably, in a bushy container on your deck, you will miss a few fallen lanterns hidden under the foliage. As winter sets in, the paper husks rot away and the sweet fruit decays into the potting soil. This natural cold stratification perfectly breaks the seed's dormancy under the winter snow. The harvest from these volunteer plants is an absolute joy. When you peel back the papery husk, you are rewarded with a sweet, complex fruit that tastes like a vibrant mix of pineapple, vanilla, and cherry tomato. They are incredible for snacking fresh right on the patio, baking into summer pies, or boiling down into a rich golden preserve. The greatest advantage of letting ground cherries self-seed is the sheer vigor of the offspring. The seedlings that naturally emerge in your patio pots in late May are mathematically proven to be stronger, stockier, and more heavily adapted to your specific backyard microclimate than any coddled plant grown under artificial lights. At number 2 is the legendary wild cherry tomato, particularly resilient varieties like the Everglades tomato. For most American gardeners, growing tomatoes is a stressful, high-maintenance chore involving indoor seed starting, delicate transplanting, and a constant battle against blight. Wild cherry tomatoes completely reject that narrative. They are rugged, indestructible survivors. By dedicating a single massive container on your backyard patio to a wild cherry tomato, you establish a permanent, self-replicating tomato factory that requires zero indoor seed starting ever again. The self-seeding process of a wild tomato is a masterpiece of natural fermentation. Throughout the blazing summer, the plant produces hundreds of tiny, intensely sweet fruits. Naturally, a few overripe tomatoes will split and fall directly onto the surface of the potting soil. Inside the tomato, each seed is surrounded by a gelatinous sac that prevents it from germinating prematurely. As the fallen tomato rots in the autumn rain, it ferments, dissolving that protective sac. The seeds sink into your container soil, freeze completely solid over the winter, and wake up naturally when the spring weather is absolutely perfect. The culinary reward is staggering. These wild volunteer plants produce an overwhelming abundance of bite-sized, incredibly sweet tomatoes that are highly resistant to the cracking and blossom drop that plagues modern hybrids. You will find yourself constantly picking them by the handful every time you step out onto your back porch. The most mind-blowing fact about self-seeded patio tomatoes is their speed. While you might panic because your volunteer seedlings pop up in May, weeks after the garden centers start selling large plants, these deeply rooted, naturally hardened survivors grow at a terrifying pace. They will almost always catch up to and eventually outproduce the expensive nursery transplants by midsummer. At number 1, taking the crown as the ultimate self-seeding container plant is the highly controversial golden purslane. Let's address the elephant in the room. For decades, Americans have spent millions of dollars on toxic herbicides trying to eradicate wild purslane from their driveway cracks and lawn borders, cursing it as an aggressive, noxious weed. But this hatred is a massive misunderstanding of a botanical miracle. By choosing the cultivated, large-leafed golden variety and deliberately isolating it in a patio container, you trap its incredible survival skills and transform a despised weed into a premium, zero-effort superfood. The reason purslane is so notoriously hard to kill in the wild is exactly why it makes the perfect perpetual container crop. It is virtually indestructible. A single plant can produce a staggering 240,000 microscopic seeds. As the tiny yellow flowers close, they drop this invisible dust directly into your patio pot. The seeds can survive baking 100-degree droughts, sub-zero freezes, and can remain viable in the soil for up to 40 years. Once you plant a pot of purslane on your deck, you are guaranteeing a lush green harvest for the rest of your life. The harvest value of this succulent plant is unmatched. The thick, juicy leaves have a bright, citrusy, and slightly salty crunch that is phenomenal in fresh salads or blended into summer smoothies. More importantly, it is an absolute nutritional powerhouse. Purslane contains more omega-3 fatty acids than any other leafy green plant on planet Earth, making it a literal, living vitamin pill growing right outside your back door. By embracing purslane in a controlled container, you completely prevent it from invading your lawn while simultaneously securing the most resilient, nutrient-dense, and aggressively self-seeding vegetable in the world. Stop fighting nature and start eating it. That wraps up our list of the 15 self-seeding vegetables for a never-ending container garden. Which of these perpetual crops are you planting to build your effortless harvest? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But please don't go anywhere just yet, because our container gardening masterclass is continuing. You now have a sustainable, self-replicating garden that gracefully feeds you year after year. But if you are growing your food on an urban balcony or a city patio, there is a quiet, invisible challenge you face every time you step outside: the air quality. Urban environments often bring dust, traffic exhaust, and smog. What if your garden could do more than just provide organic food? What if it could actively filter the environment around you, working as a living purification system? Right now, we are shifting our focus from food production to your personal health. Let's dive straight into the top 15 container vegetables and herbs that naturally purify your balcony air, transforming your outdoor space into a fresh, breathable sanctuary. Let's look at our first plant. At number 15 is peppermint, the absolute fastest way to completely alter the atmosphere of a stagnant, sweltering urban balcony. When the midsummer heat settles over the city, the air on a concrete patio can feel heavy, suffocating, and loaded with the lingering smells of hot trash and vehicle exhaust. Peppermint is a botanical disruptor. It acts as an instant, living air conditioner that violently cuts through the heavy smog, replacing it with a piercing, icy wave of freshness. The secret behind this dramatic environmental shift is its massive concentration of menthol. Menthol is a highly volatile compound, meaning it evaporates into the air incredibly quickly, especially when heated by the afternoon sun. When this menthol vapor hits the olfactory receptors in your nose, it tricks your brain into feeling a physical sensation of cold. It completely masks low-hanging urban odors and instantly makes the airspace on your balcony feel lighter, crisper, and infinitely easier to breathe in. For the container gardener, peppermint is a plant that demands to be confined. In a traditional backyard, its roots are incredibly invasive, spreading like a relentless weed. But by locking it inside a heavy 10-gallon balcony pot, you create a perfectly contained, high-output fragrance factory. Position the pot right next to your seating area or near your air conditioning intake vent to ensure every breeze carries that cooling vapor directly toward you. The multitasking value of peppermint is spectacular. Aside from acting as an aggressive, natural air freshener for your patio, you can continuously harvest the leaves to brew refreshing iced teas or muddle into your evening cocktails, making it an essential urban survivor. At number 14, we have lemon balm, an incredibly resilient, shade-tolerant herb that serves as nature's ultimate deodorizer. One of the major challenges of apartment living is dealing with the unpredictable and often unpleasant smells wafting over from neighboring balconies, whether it is lingering cigarette smoke, harsh cleaning chemicals, or heavy cooking odors. Lemon balm acts as a dense, living sponge that actively overrides these intrusive smells with a clean, uplifting, and completely natural citrus aroma. The biological power of lemon balm lies in its rich profile of citronellal and geraniol. Unlike synthetic, store-bought air fresheners that merely cover up bad smells with heavy scent headache-inducing perfumes, the essential oils in lemon balm chemically interact with odor molecules in the air, neutralizing them. The scent is remarkably similar to a freshly squeezed lemon, but with a deeper, earthy undertone that has been scientifically proven to reduce cortisol levels and significantly lower human anxiety just by inhaling it. Because urban balconies are often shadowed by surrounding high-rises, finding aromatic plants that thrive without full sun can be difficult. Lemon balm is the perfect solution. It grows vigorously in partial shade, meaning you can tuck it into the darker, cooler corners of your patio where other herbs would stretch and die. It forms a dense, bushy mound of textured green leaves that look beautiful spilling over the edges of a decorative pot. To activate this biological air freshener, you simply run your hands through the foliage whenever you walk outside. The crushed leaves release an immediate, powerful cloud of lemon vapor, instantly resetting the scent of your balcony while providing you with the perfect leaves for a calming, stress-relieving evening tea. At number 13 is lemon verbena, a magnificent, woody shrub that holds the undisputed title for the purest, most intensely concentrated lemon fragrance in the botanical world. If lemon balm is a subtle air freshener, lemon verbena is a botanical powerhouse. When city air feels deeply polluted or heavily saturated with exhaust fumes, this elegant plant produces a fragrance so sharp and impeccably clean that it completely dominates the local airspace, making your balcony smell like an expensive, high-end spa. The sheer strength of lemon verbena comes from its extraordinarily high levels of citral. While many plants mimic the scent of citrus, the essential oils packed into the long, spear-shaped leaves of this plant are remarkably potent. You do not even need to crush the leaves to activate it. On a warm summer afternoon, the natural evaporation of the oils creates a permanent, fragrant halo around the container. As the wind brushes through the tall, elegant branches, it sweeps that intoxicating, clean scent across your entire outdoor living space. To successfully grow lemon verbena on a balcony, you need to treat it like a premium centerpiece. It requires a large, deep container, at least 10 gallons, to support its extensive root system and tall with the woody stems. Placed in full sun, this plant will reward you with rapid growth, transforming a boring corner of your patio into a striking aromatic architectural feature that naturally purifies the sensory experience of your balcony. Beyond its role as a premium environmental deodorizer, lemon verbena is a highly prized culinary asset. The leaves retain their intense flavor even when dried, allowing you to harvest them at the end of the season to create world-class herbal teas, infused syrups, and incredibly aromatic baked goods. At number 12, we introduce thyme, a low-growing, creeping herb that transitions our list from simple odor neutralizers to actual microscopic air sanitizers. When gardening in tight, enclosed urban balconies, the air around closely packed, damp pots can often become musty and loaded with airborne fungal spores. Thyme operates as a relentless, ground-level guardian, utilizing its powerful chemistry to actively fight off bacteria and keep the immediate atmosphere remarkably pure and clean. The secret weapon in this tiny plant is a phenolic compound called thymol. In medical and scientific communities, thymol is globally recognized for its severe antimicrobial, antifungal, and antibacterial properties. In fact, it is the primary active ingredient in many commercial mouthwashes and natural hospital-grade disinfectants. As the thyme plant sits on your balcony baking in the sun, it continuously releases microscopic aerosolized droplets of thymol into the air. This invisible vapor actively attacks and neutralizes airborne pathogens hovering around your containers. For container architecture, thyme is completely indispensable. Because it possesses a shallow root system and naturally weeping branches, it is the ultimate spiller plant. You can plant it along the very edge of your balcony railing planters or window boxes. As it cascades over the sides, it catches the updrafts of wind rising from the city streets below, efficiently dispersing its sanitary, earthy scent throughout your entire patio ecosystem. It is absolutely incredible that a plant capable of literally sanitizing the air around it is also one of the most fundamental ingredients in French and Italian cooking. You get a living, breathing medical-grade air purifier that simultaneously guarantees a lifetime supply of savory seasoning for your roasted meats and winter stews. At number 11 is oregano, a fiercely rugged, sun-loving herb that acts as a profound respiratory healer for the urban dweller. Living in a densely populated city means your lungs are constantly bombarded by microparticulates, smog, and dust. Stepping onto your balcony should offer a chance to breathe deeply and recover. Oregano is perfectly equipped to facilitate this. It doesn't just make the air smell better. The compounds it releases are biologically designed to open up your airways and clear your sinuses. The primary biological agent in oregano is carvacrol, a highly potent organic phenol. Much like the thymol found in thyme, carvacrol possesses staggering antibacterial and antiviral properties. For centuries, traditional medicine has relied on inhaling the steam of crushed oregano leaves to treat severe respiratory infections and asthma. By dedicating a large, sun-drenched pot to this incredible plant on your patio, you are essentially creating a continuous, passive diffusion of these lung-clearing compounds right into your personal breathing space. Oregano is arguably one of the lowest maintenance plants you could ever choose for a balcony. It originates from the rocky, arid cliffs of the Mediterranean, meaning it actively prefers poor soil and thrives on neglect. Plant it in a highly porous terracotta pot and let the soil dry out completely between waterings. The hotter and drier the conditions get, the more aggressively the plant concentrates its volatile oils, resulting in a stronger, more therapeutic fragrance. The ultimate reward is the harvest. While it silently works to sanitize the air and protect your respiratory health, you can continually snip the leaves to create authentic, rustic Italian sauces, marinades, and the perfect topping for your homemade pizzas. It is a rugged survivor that heals the body and feeds the soul. We have just seen how herbs like thyme and oregano act as aggressive biological sanitizers, actively fighting off airborne bacteria. But what if you need more than just a clean balcony? What if you need a space that actually heals your lungs and calms your nervous system after a chaotic day in the city? As we move into our next group, we are looking at the ultimate botanical therapists. At number 10 is rosemary, a structural, evergreen herb that possesses an unparalleled ability to make the heavy, muddy air of a city feel instantly sharp, sterile, and incredibly crisp. When you live in a dense urban environment, the air on a concrete patio can often feel thick with humidity and lingering pollution. Rosemary cuts through that atmospheric density like a blade. It offers a piercing, woody, pine-like fragrance that instantly awakens the senses and fundamentally changes how the air on your balcony feels in your lungs. The secret to this crisp, clean aroma is a powerful organic compound called rosmarinic acid, combined with high levels of pinene. In the world of aromatherapy and cognitive science, inhaling the scent of rosemary is highly documented for its ability to stimulate the brain, improve memory retention, and clear mental fog. When the hot summer sun beats down on your balcony, the needle-like leaves of the rosemary plant actively release these volatile oils, creating an invisible, intellectually stimulating, and heavily oxygenated microclimate right outside your door. To properly harness this purifying power in a container, you must respect the plant's Mediterranean origins. Rosemary absolutely despises sitting in wet, soggy soil. It requires a highly porous terracotta pot filled with a gritty, fast-draining cactus or citrus mix. By placing it in the sunniest, most brutally hot corner of your balcony, you force the plant to concentrate its essential oils. The tougher the conditions, the stronger and more therapeutic the fragrance becomes. Beyond its role as a living, botanical air purifier, rosemary is a non-negotiable staple for the home chef. You are cultivating a permanent, evergreen air freshener that guarantees you will always have the perfect, savory sprig ready to elevate your roasted potatoes, artisan breads, and grilled steaks. At number 9, we have eucalyptus, the undisputed heavyweight champion of respiratory healing. During urban allergy seasons or days when the city smog is particularly oppressive, stepping outside can actually make your chest feel tight and congested. Millions of Americans spend a fortune on synthetic eucalyptus shower sprays and essential oil diffusers to help them breathe. By growing the actual living plant on your balcony, you create a permanent, natural respiratory spa that actively works to open up your airways the moment you step outside. The medicinal power of this plant lies in its massive concentration of eucalyptol, also known as cineole. Medical research has long recognized eucalyptol as a powerful natural expectorant and bronchodilator. When the silvery blue leaves of the eucalyptus plant rustle in the city wind, they release microscopic droplets of this compound into the air. Inhaling this vapor physically helps to relax the airway muscles, clear out sinus congestion, and provide a deep, cooling sensation in the lungs that makes urban air feel remarkably fresh and breathable. While eucalyptus is typically known as a massive, towering tree, it is actually incredibly adaptable to container gardening if you choose the right variety, such as Eucalyptus cinerea, silver dollar, or Citriodora, lemon eucalyptus. By planting it in a large, heavy 15-gallon pot and aggressively pruning the top, you force it to grow as a dense, bushy shrub. The stunning, silver-toned foliage provides a gorgeous, modern aesthetic that looks perfectly at home on a high-end urban patio. The ultimate luxury of growing potted eucalyptus is the continuous harvest. Whenever you prune your balcony bush to keep its shape, you can tie those freshly cut, intensely aromatic branches in your shower, turning your daily bathroom routine into a world-class, steam-activated aromatherapy session. At number 8 is lavender, the global icon of the aromatherapy world, capable of transforming a stressful, noisy urban balcony into a profound sanctuary of calm. City living is inherently stressful. The constant sirens, traffic noise, and visual clutter keep your nervous system in a constant state of low-level fight or flight. While other herbs on this list invigorate and sanitize, lavender exists to sedate. It produces a dense, heavy, floral aroma that acts as a biological off-switch for human anxiety, forcibly relaxing your mind and body. The scientific community has extensively studied the volatile oils of lavender, specifically linalool and linylyl acetate. Neurological research confirms that inhaling these specific compounds significantly lowers heart rate, reduces blood pressure, and physically decreases the amount of cortisol, the stress hormone, flowing through your bloodstream. By placing a large pot of lavender near your outdoor seating area, you are literally changing the chemical makeup of the air to induce tranquility, making it the perfect companion for reading a book or enjoying a glass of wine after a chaotic workday. Successfully cultivating lavender on a balcony requires a strict, tough love approach. It is highly susceptible to root rot, so it must be planted in a container with massive drainage holes and a very sandy, alkaline soil mix. Elevating the pot on a plant stand or hanging it over the balcony railing ensures that the constant airflow keeps the foliage dry while simultaneously blowing that intoxicating, stress-reducing floral vapor directly across your patio. The multitasking benefits of lavender are legendary. Once the breathtaking purple spikes have done their job of visually and aromatically calming your balcony, you can harvest the dried flowers to bake into gourmet lemonades, or stuff them into small sachets to guarantee a perfect night of deep, restorative sleep. At number 7, we have chamomile, a delicate, unassuming herb that offers a remarkably sweet, soothing contrast to the harsh, industrial smells of the city. While peppermint and eucalyptus hit your senses with a sharp, icy blast, chamomile takes a much gentler approach. It off-gasses a soft, warm, and incredibly comforting fragrance that smells exactly like freshly picked apples and wild honey. It is the perfect botanical air freshener for urban gardeners who want their balcony to feel soft, inviting, and nostalgic. The therapeutic magic of chamomile is driven by an antioxidant compound called apigenin, along with a complex profile of sweet-smelling floral esters. While it is famous for its calming effects when consumed as a tea, simply being in the presence of the blooming plant provides a subtle, ambient aromatherapy. The warm, apple-like scent naturally promotes a sense of safety and relaxation, helping to melt away the sharp, jagged tension of urban living and creating a genuinely peaceful microclimate right outside your apartment doors. Chamomile is incredibly well-suited for the spatial constraints of a balcony because it has a shallow root system and a low, creeping or mounding growth habit. It thrives in wide, shallow bowls or standard window boxes. Throughout the early summer, the bright green, feathery foliage erupts with hundreds of tiny, cheerful white flowers that look exactly like miniature daisies, adding a beautiful, whimsical cottage garden aesthetic to an otherwise rigid concrete environment. The true reward of keeping a pot of chamomile is the ultimate nighttime harvest. After enjoying the sweet apple fragrance on your balcony all afternoon, you can pinch off a handful of those tiny daisy flowers, steep them in hot water, and drink the most profoundly relaxing, sleep-inducing herbal tea on the planet. At number 6 is holy basil, universally known as tulsi, a profoundly revered plant that offers a completely unique, spicy, and deeply purifying fragrance. When urban air feels spiritually and physically stagnant, standard sweet basil simply isn't strong enough to cut through the heavy atmosphere. Holy basil is a true botanical powerhouse. It releases a warm, complex, and intensely exotic aroma that combines the sharp bite of cloves with the cooling finish of peppermint, instantly making your balcony feel like a high-end wellness retreat. In Ayurvedic medicine, holy basil is considered the queen of herbs, planted near the entrances of homes specifically to purify the air and protect the household from disease. Modern science has validated this ancient practice, discovering that the plant's essential oils are loaded with eugenol, camphor, and ursolic acid. These highly volatile compounds possess staggering antimicrobial and antiviral properties. As the plant sits in the summer heat, it continuously evaporates these oils, creating an active, sanitized, and deeply aromatic force field around your container garden. Growing holy basil on a balcony is a highly rewarding and visually striking experience. Unlike the smooth, bright green leaves of Italian basil, tulsi often features beautifully serrated leaves tinged with deep purple and produces delicate, highly fragrant pink blossoms. It thrives in standard patio pots with rich, well-draining soil and absolutely loves the intense, baking heat of the midsummer sun, which only forces it to produce even more of its purifying essential oils. Beyond its role as a supreme environmental purifier, holy basil is a world-class adaptogen. You can harvest the spicy, clove-scented leaves daily to brew a powerful medicinal tea that actively helps your body adapt to urban stress, boosts your immune system, and brings total balance to your mind and environment. We have explored herbs that sanitize the air and calm the nervous system. But as we enter our top 5, we are focusing on pure, unadulterated freshness. These are the crisp, clean defenders and the culinary giants that completely rewrite the sensory experience of your balcony. These plants don't just neutralize bad odors, they actively replace them with the bright, uplifting, and mouth-watering scents of a luxury botanical garden. At number 5 is sweet basil, the undisputed king of the Italian culinary garden, which surprisingly doubles as an incredibly effective ambient air freshener. When you live in a concrete jungle, the air rarely smells green. Urban patios often radiate the dry, dusty scent of heated asphalt. Sweet basil completely flips this dynamic, pumping a lush, vibrant, and slightly sweet herbal fragrance into the air that instantly makes a cramped city balcony feel like a sun-drenched Mediterranean villa. The aromatic power of sweet basil comes from a highly complex blend of essential oils, heavily dominated by eugenol and linalool. This specific chemical combination produces a bright, clove-like, and slightly anise-scented vapor. When the intense afternoon sun hits the broad, tender leaves, these volatile oils rapidly evaporate, creating a thick, localized canopy of fragrance. In the world of aromatherapy, inhaling this sweet, peppery scent is highly prized for its ability to fight mental fatigue and instantly uplift a sluggish, tired mood. For the urban container gardener, basil is an absolute joy to grow. It thrives in standard, well-draining patio pots and absolutely loves intense summer heat. The key to maximizing its aromatic output on a balcony is constant harvesting. By regularly pinching off the top leaves, you prevent the plant from flowering and force it to grow into a dense, bushy, fragrance-producing powerhouse that sits beautifully next to your outdoor seating area. The dual-purpose nature of this plant is legendary. You are cultivating a world-class, mood-boosting environmental fragrance that simultaneously guarantees you are always just seconds away from making the freshest pesto, garnishing a summer pizza, or assembling a flawless caprese salad. At number 4, we have pineapple sage, a breathtaking, architectural herb that offers a massive, tropical escape for the urban senses. Sometimes, you don't want your balcony to smell like a forest or an Italian kitchen. You want it to feel like a high-end island resort. Pineapple sage delivers a staggering olfactory illusion. When the wind brushes past its velvety green leaves, it releases a fragrance that smells exactly, and I mean exactly, like a freshly sliced, incredibly ripe, sweet pineapple. This mind-bending scent profile is generated by a unique combination of botanical esters and volatile compounds that perfectly mimic the chemical signature of tropical fruit. In aromatherapy, sweet, fruity aromas are highly effective at elevating dopamine levels, cutting through the heavy, depressing humidity of a stagnant city summer. Simply sitting next to a pot of pineapple sage and breathing in that sweet, exotic vapor can instantly transport your mind miles away from the noise and stress of the urban grid. To fully experience this tropical giant, you need to provide it with a large, heavy container, at least 10 to 15 gallons. It grows aggressively, forming a massive, bushy shrub that can easily reach 3 to 4 feet tall, making it a spectacular privacy screen for a small patio. In late summer, just as other plants begin to fade, it erupts into hundreds of brilliant, tubular, fiery red flowers that are an absolute magnet for any hummingbirds passing through the city. Beyond its role as a tropical air freshener, the culinary uses are fantastic. You can muddle the sweet, pineapple-scented leaves into iced teas, freeze them into cocktail ice cubes, or toss the edible red flowers into a fruit salad for a stunning, gourmet presentation. At number 3 is spearmint, the softer, sweeter, and more sophisticated cousin to our number 15 pick, peppermint. While peppermint attacks stagnant urban air with a sharp, aggressive, and almost icy blast of menthol, spearmint takes a much more elegant approach. If your balcony feels stuffy and you want to clean the air without feeling like you are sitting inside a medicine cabinet, spearmint provides a gentle, remarkably crisp, and universally loved wave of pure freshness. The defining chemical difference here is carvone. Instead of relying heavily on menthol, spearmint leaves are packed with carvone, an organic compound that delivers a smooth, sweet, and highly refreshing cooling sensation. This scent profile is inherently associated with cleanliness. When the spearmint leaves off gas into the balcony air, the carvone actively neutralizes musty, damp odors rising from the concrete, replacing them with a crisp, clear fragrance that makes the atmosphere feel instantly lighter and easier to breathe. Like all members of the mint family, spearmint is an aggressive spreader that will completely take over a traditional garden bed. This makes your urban balcony container the ultimate, secure environment for it. Planted in a long, shallow window box or a dedicated patio planter, the confined space locks the roots in place, creating a dense, lush carpet of textured green leaves that acts as a highly controlled, high-output fragrance diffuser. The harvest value of spearmint is unparalleled in the summer months. While it quietly keeps your balcony smelling impeccably clean, you have a perpetual, unlimited supply of the absolute best herb for brewing authentic Moroccan mint tea, mixing classic mojitos, or adding a sweet crunch to fresh cucumber salads. At number 2, we introduce lemongrass, the ultimate heavy-duty odor neutralizer. Sometimes, the smells invading your urban balcony are not just slightly stale, they are actively awful. Whether you live directly above a busy restaurant exhaust vent, near a bustling city intersection, or close to a commercial dumpster, delicate floral scents simply won't cut it. You need a botanical powerhouse. Lemongrass stands tall as an aggressive, architectural grass that completely obliterates foul odors with a piercing, incredibly clean citrus strike. The staggering deodorizing power of lemongrass is driven by its massive concentration of citral. In the scientific and commercial cleaning worlds, citral is heavily relied upon for its intense ability to break down and mask deeply offensive odors, as well as its proven antibacterial properties. When you grow this tall grass on your balcony, you are essentially deploying a living, medical-grade air purifier. The sharp lemon-like vapor it releases is so dominant that it effortlessly overrides industrial pollution, leaving the air smelling as crisp as a freshly cleaned luxury hotel lobby. From a design perspective, lemongrass is a vertical masterpiece. It belongs in a deep, heavy pot where it can shoot its elegant, arching green blades up to 4 feet into the air. As the city wind catches the tall grass, it creates a beautiful, whispering rustle, acting as a massive, swaying diffuser that sweeps that purifying citral vapor across your entire seating area. As an incredible bonus, this aggressive air freshener is a highly prized culinary staple. You can continuously harvest the thick, aromatic stalks to infuse authentic, bright citrus flavor into traditional Thai curries, robust soups, and deeply soothing, stomach-settling herbal teas. At number 1, securing the crown as the most interactive, magical, and highly concentrated air freshener in the container gardening world is Corsican mint. At first glance, this plant does not even look like an herb. It looks exactly like a dense, velvety carpet of bright green moss. But hidden within its microscopic leaves is a scent payload so powerful that it completely redefines the experience of watering your balcony garden. It is the ultimate, touch-activated botanical purifier. The biological secret of Corsican mint is its hyper-concentrated cellular structure. The tiny leaves are absolutely bursting with polygon and menthol. While other plants slowly off-gas their scents into the wind, Corsican mint waits for physical interaction. When you simply brush your hand across the top of the pot, or more importantly, when you water it, the water droplets strike the delicate leaves, rupturing the microscopic oil sacs. Instantly, the plant detonates a room-filling, explosive cloud of rich, sweet mint vapor that smells exactly like a high-end crème de menthe liqueur. This unique growth habit makes it the ultimate thriller and filler for urban containers. Because it only grows a fraction of an inch tall, it acts as the perfect living mulch. You can plant it at the base of your taller, shade-loving patio plants, or in a dedicated shallow bowl tucked securely in the cooler. indirect light of your balcony corner. It covers the ugly, bare potting soil with a gorgeous green mat, prevents weeds, and transforms the entire container into an interactive aromatherapy station. While it is rarely used in everyday cooking due to its overwhelming intensity, its value as an environmental purifier is unmatched. Every single time you step onto your balcony to water your plants, you are rewarded with a massive, breathtaking wave of pure, minty freshness that instantly clears your mind, opens your lungs, and completely sanitizes the urban air. That wraps up our list of the 15 container vegetables and herbs that naturally purify your balcony air. Which of these living filters are you adding to your outdoor sanctuary first? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening challenges you want me to tackle next. But please don't go anywhere just yet, because our urban gardening masterclass is far from over. You now have a clean, breathable, and highly productive space. But if you are gardening on an apartment balcony, you face a strict physical limitation: floor space. Once you arrange a few heavy pots for your fresh herbs and root vegetables, your relaxing sanctuary can quickly feel cramped and cluttered. How do you secure a massive, homestead-level harvest without losing your quiet outdoor living area? The answer is simple. You stop growing outward and you begin growing upward. Right now, we are shifting our focus from natural filtration to vertical scaling. Let's dive directly into the top 15 climbing vegetables specifically designed to grow vertically, transforming your tiny balcony into a towering, space-saving food forest. Let's look at our first climber. We are kicking off the list with climbing nasturtiums, the ultimate edible ornamental that completely shatters the idea that vegetable gardens cannot be breathtakingly beautiful. When you live in a high-rise apartment, your balcony often feels like a sterile, concrete box. Most urban gardeners want a plant that softens those harsh lines with vibrant colors, but they do not want to waste precious container space on flowers you cannot eat. Climbing nasturtiums solve this problem instantly. They provide a stunning aesthetic upgrade while functioning as a highly productive, gourmet food source that 5-star restaurants across America charge a premium for. The vertical mechanics of this plant are fascinating. Unlike heavy vines that require industrial-strength supports, climbing nasturtiums use highly sensitive twining leaf stalks to pull themselves upward. When provided with a simple, lightweight string trellis or a thin wire mesh against your balcony wall, they will aggressively climb up to 8 feet in the air. As they ascend, their unique lily-pad-shaped leaves overlap perfectly, creating a dense, lightweight living sunscreen. This biological curtain effectively blocks the harsh afternoon UV rays from baking your apartment windows, naturally lowering your indoor temperatures. For your container strategy, this is one of the cheapest and easiest setups imaginable. You only need a standard 5-gallon pot or a railing planter. The ultimate expert hack for nasturtiums is intentional neglect. If you give them premium, highly fertilized potting soil, they will produce massive amounts of leaves but absolutely zero flowers. You actually want to use poor, unfertilized soil and let the soil dry out slightly between waterings. This calculated stress forces the plant to erupt in brilliant, fiery orange, yellow, and red blossoms all over your balcony. The harvest payoff is phenomenally rewarding. Climbing nasturtiums thrive best in USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 10 as a rapid-growing annual. From the moment you drop the seeds into the dirt, you are looking at an incredibly fast harvest time of just 35 to 50 days. The yield is absolutely massive because the more you pick, the more the plant regenerates. Every single part of the plant above the soil is edible. You can harvest handfuls of the vibrant flowers and the circular leaves every single week to toss into your summer salads. They deliver a brilliant, peppery, mustard-like kick that completely elevates your everyday meals while making your balcony the envy of the entire building. Coming in at number 14 is the edible sweet potato vine, a nearly indestructible tropical survivor that completely ignores the blistering heat of the American summer. By the time July rolls around, most balcony gardeners are watching their standard leafy greens wilt, turn intensely bitter, and completely die off in the oppressive heat. The edible sweet potato vine is the ultimate workaround. While traditional backyard farmers grow sweet potatoes in massive, heavy mounds of dirt to harvest the underground tubers in the fall, we are utilizing a brilliant urban gardening cheat code. We are growing this aggressively fast vine strictly for its highly nutritious, heat-proof leaves. The vertical mechanics of the sweet potato vine make it an absolute powerhouse for balcony climate control. It is a wildly vigorous grower that functions perfectly as both a climber and a cascading spiller. If you plant it in a railing box and give it a vertical trellis, it will rapidly weave its thick vines upward. Its broad, heart-shaped leaves are biologically designed to soak up intense sunlight. By training it up a net, you create an impenetrable, thick green wall. This living sunscreen acts as a formidable heat shield, absorbing the solar radiation before it can hit your apartment's sliding glass doors, keeping your living room dramatically cooler. To execute the perfect container strategy, you should use a wide, shallow 10-gallon pot. Because we do not care about root development, you do not need deep soil. The expert hack here is to aggressively feed the plant with high nitrogen liquid fertilizer every 2 weeks. Nitrogen specifically fuels extreme foliage growth. You want to force the plant to push all of its energy into creating a massive, sprawling canopy of tender green and deep purple leaves rather than wasting energy below the soil line. The harvest payoff is perfectly suited for the midsummer heat wave. This plant completely dominates in USDA Hardiness Zones 8 through 11, but thrives beautifully as a summer annual in cooler zones. It boasts a staggering harvest time, providing tender shoots in just 30 to 40 days after planting. The yield is practically infinite. It is a true cut-and-come-again crop. You take a pair of scissors and aggressively snip off the top 6 inches of the vines every week. The plant simply branches out and grows back thicker. The leaves have a mild, sweet flavor and are traditionally sautéed with garlic and olive oil, giving you an endless supply of premium summer greens right on your patio. At number 13, we have Malabar Spinach, an exotic architectural masterpiece that serves as the ultimate heat wave rescue crop for the American balcony gardener. When the midsummer temperatures consistently cross the 90-degree mark, attempting to grow traditional spinach or delicate lettuces in containers is a complete waste of time. They will immediately bolt, flower, and die. Malabar spinach is not actually true spinach at all. It is a tropical, vining succulent that absolutely worships the heat and humidity. When your other balcony plants are begging for shade, this vibrant, red-stemmed vine hits the accelerator and grows at a terrifying speed. The vertical mechanics of Malabar spinach are a sight to behold. It features thick, fleshy, ruby-red vines that aggressively twist and twine around any vertical support they can find. You must provide it with a sturdy vertical string trellis or a rigid metal grid. Because the leaves are semi-succulent, meaning they store water inside their thick cellular walls, the foliage creates a heavy, dense canopy. As it climbs toward your ceiling, it forms a gorgeous, waxy, living sunscreen. This thick barrier completely blocks out the blinding afternoon glare, turning your balcony into a shaded, tropical oasis in the middle of a concrete jungle. For your container strategy, you need a heavy 7 to 10-gallon pot to counterbalance the massive weight of the vine once it reaches the top of the trellis. The ultimate balcony hack for Malabar spinach is moisture manipulation. Because it originates from the tropics, it craves humidity. If you live in a dry climate, use a spray bottle to heavily mist the leaves and the balcony walls around the plant every morning. This micro-level humidity explosion will trick the plant into thinking it is in a rainforest, causing the leaf size to double and the vines to surge upward. The harvest payoff is where this plant truly shines. It performs flawlessly in USDA Hardiness Zones 7 through 11, where the summers are long and brutally hot. You are looking at a highly productive harvest time of 50 to 70 days. The yield is absolutely astronomical. A single seed can easily produce a vine that stretches over 10 feet long, pumping out pounds of thick, dark green leaves. You can harvest the massive leaves continuously from midsummer all the way until the first hard frost. The leaves have a crisp, slightly peppery flavor with a hint of citrus. They hold their shape perfectly when tossed into a hot wok for a summer stir-fry or heavily chopped into fresh, heat-proof salads. Coming in at number 12 are scarlet runner beans, a breathtaking, dual-purpose climbing vine that brings unparalleled wildlife energy directly to your high-rise balcony. Most urban container gardeners assume that attracting beautiful pollinators like hummingbirds is a luxury reserved for massive suburban backyards. The scarlet runner bean completely changes that narrative. It is a legendary American heirloom plant that combines the aggressive, food-producing power of a heavy vegetable crop with the stunning ornamental beauty of a premium floral vine, making it one of the most exciting plants you can put on a patio. The vertical mechanics are built for total domination. This plant does not produce delicate, fragile vines. It throws out thick, incredibly strong runners that will aggressively wrap around anything in their path. You must provide a heavy-duty nylon trellis net or secure wooden poles. As it climbs, it rapidly builds a massive wall of dark green textured foliage. But the true magic happens when it erupts into clusters of brilliant, fiery red flowers. This thick, flowering living sunscreen provides total privacy from your neighbors while acting as an irresistible, glowing beacon for hummingbirds, turning your urban balcony into a vibrant nature sanctuary. Your container strategy requires a large footprint to support the aggressive root system, so a 15-gallon pot or a deep planter box is mandatory. The critical expert hack for growing these in containers during the summer is root temperature control. While the vines love the sun, the roots absolutely despise being baked in a hot plastic pot. You must heavily mulch the surface of the potting soil with 3 inches of straw or wood chips, and ideally, place a smaller potted plant directly in front of the bean pot to cast a permanent shadow on the soil, keeping the root zone deep and cool. The harvest payoff is spectacular and versatile. They grow exceptionally well as a perennial in USDA Hardiness Zones 7 through 11 and act as a rapid-growing summer annual in cooler zones 3 through 6. The harvest time hits right around 65 to 75 days. The yield is incredibly heavy, providing you with multiple pounds of food from a single container. You can harvest the young, tender green pods early and eat them exactly like standard snap beans. Alternatively, you can let them fully mature on the vine until the fall, crack the pods open, and harvest the stunning, massive pink and purple mottled beans inside to dry and use for hearty winter stews. At number 11, we have the sugar snap pea, unlocking one of the greatest high-yield secrets in the container gardening world, the fall balcony harvest. Most beginner gardeners associate peas strictly with the cool, damp weather of early spring. By the time July arrives, their spring peas have completely died off in the heat and they leave their trellises empty. But the true urban gardening masters know that the middle of summer is the exact, perfect time to start a brand new generation of sugar snap peas. By planting them now, you are setting up a massive, crunchy harvest perfectly timed for the crisp days of autumn. The vertical mechanics of sugar snap peas are incredibly elegant and lightweight. Unlike heavy beans or gourds, peas use highly advanced, delicate little tendrils that act like biological fingers. These tendrils will flawlessly wrap around thin wires, fishing line, or lightweight balcony netting. Because the vines and leaves are smaller and more refined, they do not create a heavy, dark wall. Instead, they form a dappled, translucent, living sunscreen. This gently filters the harsh sunlight, allowing a beautiful, soft green glow to enter your apartment windows without blocking your view of the city skyline. For your container strategy, these are perfectly suited for tight spaces, thriving easily in small 5 to 7 gallon pots or narrow railing boxes. The ultimate midsummer hack to get these cool weather seeds to germinate in the July heat is the shadow sowing technique. You do not place the seeded pot in the direct sun. Instead, you tuck the pot completely underneath the shade of your larger tomato or pepper plants. The shade keeps the potting soil up to 10 degrees cooler, tricking the pea seeds into germinating. Once they sprout and the August heat begins to break, you move them into the sun to let them climb. The harvest payoff is an absolute joy. They are a critical late-season crop for USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 8. When planted in midsummer, you are looking at a fast harvest time of just 60 to 70 days, meaning your vines will be loaded with food by September. The yield is famously prolific. A small balcony trellis will produce hundreds of bright green plump pods. There is simply nothing better than stepping out onto your balcony in the cool autumn air and snapping off a handful of sweet, incredibly crunchy peas for the ultimate healthy American garden snack. We have covered the ornamental beauties and the secret fall harvests, but as we move into the top 10, we are looking at the heavy hitters. These are the absolute workhorses of the container garden, plants that are currently going viral online for their bizarre shapes and massive yields. Before we dive into these rapid growth vines, if you are finding value in this balcony survival guide, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out on our urban gardening secrets. Now, let's look at a cucumber that is built like a snake and the ultimate trending bath sponge hack. At number 10, is the Armenian cucumber, a bizarre, snake-like anomaly that completely solves the biggest complaint gardeners have about summer cucumbers: the bitter taste. When the brutal heat waves of July and August hit, standard cucumbers undergo severe heat stress, pumping a chemical called cucurbitacin into the fruit, which makes them incredibly bitter and inedible. The Armenian cucumber is biologically entirely different. Technically, it is a variety of muskmelon, which means it absolutely thrives in the blistering heat and never, ever turns bitter, delivering a perfectly sweet, crisp crunch every single time. The vertical mechanics of this plant are the secret to its aesthetic perfection. If you grow these on the ground in a traditional garden, the fruits curl up into strange, twisted knots and often rot on the damp soil. But when you grow them on a balcony, gravity becomes your best friend. By training the strong vines up a heavy-duty trellis, the massive, ribbed fruits hang suspended in the air, allowing gravity to pull them perfectly straight. Meanwhile, the large, umbrella-like leaves form a dense, heavy living sunscreen that creates a deep, cooling shade over your balcony seating area. Your container strategy must accommodate its aggressive growth, requiring at least a 10-gallon pot to hold enough moisture. The ultimate expert hack for this specific plant is implementing a strict, consistent watering schedule using a drip emitter. Because these fruits grow so incredibly fast in the summer heat, any sudden fluctuation in soil moisture will cause the thin skin of the cucumber to violently split open. Keeping the soil consistently damp ensures flawless, beautiful fruits. The harvest payoff is unbelievably rewarding. This heat-loving vine thrives best in USDA Hardiness Zones 5 through 11. From seeding to harvest, you only need about 60 to 70 days. The yield is staggering. A single healthy vine can produce dozens of cucumbers, each reaching up to 2 feet in length. Because the skin is so thin and lacks the waxy coating of grocery store cucumbers, there is absolutely no peeling required. You simply slice them into large, ribbed rounds for the most refreshing, heat-proof summer salad you will ever eat on your patio. Coming in at number 9 is the loofah gourd, an aggressive, heavy-duty climber that has recently exploded across social media as the ultimate sustainable gardening trend. If you have an exposed, south-facing balcony that receives punishing afternoon sun, this plant is your biological savior. Most people assume the sponges they buy for their bathroom are synthetic or come from the ocean. Discovering that you can grow premium, organic bath sponges on an apartment balcony is a massive revelation, making this one of the most exciting and conversation-starting plants you can possibly grow. The vertical mechanics of the loofah require serious infrastructure. This is not a delicate vine, it is a genetic powerhouse that produces thick, grasping tendrils. It will desperately grab onto heavy netting, rigid metal grids, or overhead balcony rafters, rapidly climbing toward the ceiling to create a magnificent roof. As it aggressively covers your vertical space, the massive leaves overlap to form an impenetrable living sunscreen, completely blocking the harshest UV rays. It also erupts with giant, brilliant yellow flowers that act as a beacon for urban pollinators. To support this massive canopy, your container strategy requires a minimum of a 15-gallon pot filled with rich, well-draining soil. The expert balcony hack for the loofah is phosphorus manipulation. Because it grows so aggressively, it often produces too many leaves and not enough gourds. Once the vine reaches the top of your trellis, you must switch to a high-phosphorus organic fertilizer. This sudden shift forces the plant to stop building leaves and channel all of its energy into setting dozens of heavy, hanging gourds. The harvest payoff offers incredible dual-purpose utility. The loofah demands a long, hot summer, thriving in USDA Hardiness Zones 6 through 11. If you want to eat it, the harvest time is about 60 days. You pick the gourds when they are small and tender, cooking them exactly like zucchini. But if you want the famous sponges, you leave them hanging on the vine for over 100 days until they turn brown and lightweight. The yield is fantastic. One vine can give you a dozen large sponges. You simply peel off the dry skin to reveal a lifetime supply of natural, exfoliating shower sponges right from your balcony. At number 8, we have pole beans, the absolute workhorse of the American summer garden and an essential staple for any urban barbecue enthusiast. While standard bush beans are great for a quick harvest, they are a terrible choice for small balconies because they take up a massive amount of horizontal floor space and die off after a few weeks. Pole beans, particularly legendary heirloom varieties like Kentucky Wonder, completely solve this by growing straight up. They are a perpetual food machine, giving you a continuous, heavy harvest while occupying almost zero square footage on your patio. The vertical mechanics are flawless for apartment balconies. Unlike peas that use tendrils to grip, pole beans are twiners. The main stem of the plant actively spirals and wraps itself tightly around any vertical pole, string, or wire you provide. By running simple vertical twine from your balcony railing up to the ceiling, the beans will rapidly ascend, weaving a beautiful, vibrant green wall. This tight canopy acts as a highly effective living sunscreen, lowering the ambient temperature of your outdoor space while keeping the bean pods perfectly shaded and tender. For your container strategy, a 10-gallon pot or a long, narrow railing trough is ideal. The ultimate expert hack to guarantee a massive yield is biological inoculation. Before you plant the seeds, you coat them in an organic inoculant powder containing rhizobia bacteria. This beneficial bacteria attaches to the roots and allows the plant to literally pull nitrogen out of the air to feed itself. This completely eliminates the need for expensive chemical fertilizers and supercharges the vertical growth. The harvest payoff is nothing short of an avalanche of food. Pole beans are incredibly adaptable, performing beautifully as a summer crop in USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 11. You will start harvesting in just 60 to 65 days. The yield is practically limitless because of their biology. The more you pick, the more flowers the plant produces. You will be harvesting handfuls of crisp, stringless green beans every single week until the first frost. They are the ultimate summer side dish, perfect for tossing in olive oil and throwing directly onto a hot backyard grill. Coming in at number 7 are traditional vining cucumbers, the crisp, refreshing cornerstone of every single summer salad. Growing cucumbers on a small balcony usually ends in disaster because most beginners let the vines sprawl across the floor. When cucumber leaves sit on damp concrete or wet potting soil, they immediately fall victim to powdery mildew, rot, and aggressive soil-borne pests. By utilizing vertical vining varieties like the classic Marketmore, you completely eliminate these ground-level diseases and transform a sprawling mess into a highly organized vertical food factory. The vertical mechanics of these cucumbers rely on incredibly strong, spring-like tendrils that shoot out from the main stem, wrapping tightly around any trellis netting or metal fencing. As the vine climbs, it elevates the massive, broad leaves into the air. This elevated canopy maximizes airflow, keeping the leaves dry and disease-free, while simultaneously creating a lush living sunscreen that casts a deep, cool shadow across your balcony. Most importantly, gravity ensures the cucumbers hang straight down in the open air, preventing the yellow ground spots and rot that ruin traditional harvests. Your container strategy requires a heavy 7 to 10 gallon pot to retain moisture during the blistering August afternoons. The critical expert hack for vertical cucumbers is aggressive bottom pruning. Once the vine has successfully climbed a few feet up the trellis, you must take a pair of sterile scissors and cut off all the leaves within the first 12 inches of the soil line. This completely severs the disease bridge, preventing any fungal spores in the dirt from splashing up onto the leaves when you water the pot. The harvest payoff guarantees you will never buy a watery grocery store cucumber again. They thrive exceptionally well across USDA Hardiness Zones 4 through 11. With a fast maturity rate, you will be pulling crisp fruits off the vine in exactly 55 to 65 days. The yield from a single vertical vine is massive, easily providing 20 to 30 perfect cucumbers. Walking out to your shaded balcony to snap a perfectly hydrated, sun-warmed cucumber right off the vine is the ultimate reward of the midsummer urban garden. At number 6, we have the cucamelon, the undisputed darling of garden social media and an absolute must-grow for anyone with kids. This plant is a viral sensation for a good reason. It produces hundreds of fruits that look exactly like perfectly striped, microscopic watermelons, but when you pop them in your mouth, they taste like a crisp cucumber with a bright, refreshing squeeze of lime. It is an incredibly fun, exotic, and high-yielding crop that completely changes the dynamic of your balcony garden, offering maximum entertainment value with zero effort. The vertical mechanics of the cucamelon make it the perfect candidate for delicate apartment setups. Unlike heavy gourds or massive tomatoes, the vines of the cucamelon are incredibly thin, lightweight, and fragile-looking. They will not pull down a flimsy trellis or damage rental property fixtures. They weave their delicate tendrils through fine netting, creating a beautiful, lacy living sunscreen. This creates a beautifully dappled, filtered light effect on your balcony, providing gentle shade without plunging your apartment into total darkness. For the container strategy, their lightweight nature means you only need a standard 5-gallon pot, but the true expert cheat code for cucamelons lies beneath the soil. While everyone treats them as an annual, they actually develop a thick, radish-like tuber under the dirt. At the end of the summer, instead of throwing the plant away, you can dig up this tuber, store it in a cool, dark closet over the winter, and replant it the following spring. This hack gives you a massive, explosive head start on the growing season. The harvest payoff is an absolute blast. They are grown as annuals in cooler regions, but act as returning perennials in USDA Hardiness Zones 7 through 10. The harvest time hits around 65 to 75 days. The yield is absolutely staggering. A single delicate vine will produce hundreds of these grape-sized fruits. You do not need to peel them or prep them. You simply pluck them off the living sunscreen and eat them whole like candy. Or toss them into a jar with some garlic and dill for the most unique, bite-sized pickles you have ever tasted. We have seen viral sensations and space-saving vines, but as we enter our top 5, we are moving into the absolute heavyweights. These are the plants that will completely drop the jaws of anyone who walks onto your balcony. We are talking about suspending massive, heavy autumn harvests entirely in midair and unleashing the undisputed king of the container garden. If you want maximum food production and the ultimate living sunscreen, these final 5 are the only plants you will ever need. Let's bring it home. At number 5, we introduce miniature pumpkins, a plant that allows you to capture the absolute magic of the American autumn right on a tiny apartment balcony. When most people think of growing pumpkins for Halloween or Thanksgiving, they picture massive, sprawling suburban fields taking up hundreds of square feet. The idea of growing pumpkins on a high-rise patio seems impossible until you discover miniature vining varieties like Jack B. Little. By utilizing these genetically scaled-down vines, you can bring the ultimate festive harvest to your urban space without sacrificing a single inch of your precious floor plan. The vertical mechanics of miniature pumpkins are a masterpiece of biological engineering. Unlike giant pumpkins that require the ground to support their massive weight, these thin, wiry vines are perfectly designed to climb. They use tight tendrils to grasp onto balcony railing grids or overhead netting. As they pull themselves upward, their iconic, deeply lobed leaves overlap to create a dense, highly effective living sunscreen. But the true magic happens when the fruits develop. Because these pumpkins max out at just half a pound, the vines are strong enough to suspend them completely in midair, creating a floating canopy of brilliant orange globes above your seating area. For your container strategy, you will need a 10-gallon pot to provide enough moisture to sustain the rapid growth. The ultimate balcony hack for these miniature vines is extreme vertical training. Do not let a single vine touch the floor. As soon as the plant throws out a runner, you must weave it upward into your trellis. By keeping the vines and the fruits entirely airborne, you eliminate the risk of soil-borne rot and keep your balcony floor completely clean and usable for your patio furniture. The harvest payoff is incredibly satisfying and perfectly timed for the holidays. Miniature pumpkins are a fantastic summer to fall crop that thrives across USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 11. When planted in midsummer, they have a harvest time of 90 to 95 days, meaning your balcony will be loaded with bright orange pumpkins just in time for October. The yield is surprisingly high. A single vertical vine can easily produce 8 to 12 perfect little pumpkins. They are absolutely stunning as holiday decorations, and because the flesh is incredibly sweet, you can roast them whole and stuff them with wild rice for a high-end gourmet autumn dinner. Coming in at number 4 is vining butternut squash, the quintessential comfort food of the American fall season, completely reimagined for the urban container garden. Butternut squash is famous for making the rich, creamy soups that define autumn, but traditional varieties are notorious garden hogs, sending out vines that can easily swallow a 20-foot yard. The solution for the balcony gardener is to force this sprawling monster into the sky. By carefully selecting aggressive vining varieties and giving them the right infrastructure, you can suspend a massive, heavy winter harvest directly above your head, saving 100% of your floor space. The vertical mechanics of butternut squash require serious respect and heavy-duty preparation. This plant produces thick, tubular vines and massive, umbrella-like leaves. When trained up a rigid metal grid or a heavy wooden trellis, these giant leaves create the ultimate living sunscreen, casting a deep, cooling shadow that can drop the temperature of your balcony by 10 degrees. However, unlike miniature pumpkins, a mature butternut squash is incredibly heavy. The vine itself cannot support the weight of the hanging fruit without ripping entirely off the trellis. This brings us to your container strategy and the most important expert hack on this list, the melon hammock. You will need a massive 15 to 20 gallon pot to fuel this plant. Once the squash begins to form and swell in midair, you must create a sling using old pantyhose, t-shirts, or specialized netting. You tie this hammock directly to the structural metal of your balcony rail or heavy trellis, allowing the hammock to cradle the heavy fruit. This takes all the weight off the vine. allowing the squash to grow to a massive size while suspended safely in the air. The harvest payoff is heavy, highly nutritious, and incredibly long-lasting. Butternut squash loves the long, hot summers of USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 11. It is a marathon crop, requiring a harvest time of 100 to 110 days. While the yield may seem smaller, usually 4 to 5 large squashes per vine, the actual weight of the food produced is massive. The greatest benefit of this crop is its incredible storage capacity. Once harvested in the late fall, the thick, tan skin allows you to store them in your apartment pantry for up to 6 months, giving you homegrown food all winter long. At number 3, we have vining zucchini, a brilliant spatial cheat code that completely revolutionizes the most popular summer vegetable in America. Zucchini is a mandatory staple for backyard barbecues, but standard bush zucchini is an absolute nightmare for apartment gardeners. A single bush variety will rapidly expand to the size of a tractor tire, completely eating up your entire balcony floor and leaving no room for you to even stand. Vining zucchini varieties, like the legendary Tromboncino or Black Forest, flip the script entirely. They abandon the horizontal bush shape and instead climb aggressively skyward, handing you a massive harvest from a tiny footprint. The vertical mechanics of this plant solve almost every disease problem associated with standard zucchini. By tying the thick main stem to a sturdy wooden pole or a heavy iron trellis, you force the giant, prehistoric-looking leaves upward. This towering green column acts as a fantastic living sunscreen for the corner of your patio. More importantly, by elevating the plant, you maximize wind airflow around the leaves, completely eradicating the powdery mildew that usually destroys zucchini. Furthermore, because the fruits hang straight down from the vertical stem, they never touch the wet potting soil, ensuring they grow perfectly straight and never rot. Your container strategy requires a heavy 10 to 15-gallon pot. The expert hack for vining zucchini is a technique called aggressive lower pruning. As the vine climbs up your pole and sets fruit, the older leaves at the bottom of the plant near the dirt will start to fade. You must take a sharp knife and completely cut off all the leaves below the lowest hanging fruit. This creates a bare stem at the bottom, which pushes all the plant's energy up into the new growth and makes it entirely impossible for soil-borne pests to climb up into your canopy. The harvest payoff is famous for being overwhelmingly abundant. Vining zucchini is incredibly vigorous in USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 11. It offers a blisteringly fast harvest time of just 50 to 60 days. The yield is legendary. A single climbing vine can easily produce 20 to 30 large zucchinis over the summer, practically forcing you to give food away to your neighbors. You will have a perpetual daily supply of fresh, crisp summer squash to slice thick, brush with olive oil, and throw directly onto your balcony grill. Coming in at number 2 is the winged bean, an exotic masterpiece often referred to as the one-plant supermarket. When you are gardening on a highly restricted apartment balcony, your biggest priority is maximizing utility. You cannot afford to grow plants that only offer one edible part. The winged bean is a breathtaking tropical climbing vine where literally every single piece of the plant is edible and highly nutritious. It brings an incredible, otherworldly aesthetic to your patio while functioning as an unstoppable vertical food factory. The vertical mechanics of this plant are built to dominate blistering summer heat and oppressive humidity. As it tightly twines its way up your balcony netting, it rapidly builds a massive wall of vibrant foliage. This thick canopy creates a formidable living sunscreen, completely blocking harsh afternoon UV rays from baking your apartment windows. The true visual spectacle happens when it blooms. The vine erupts with striking pale blue flowers that eventually transform into long, jagged pods with 4 distinct frilly wings running down their sides. For your container strategy, you will need a sturdy 10-gallon pot to support its aggressive growth and extensive root system. The ultimate expert balcony hack is fully exploiting its complete edibility to save space. While you wait for the alien-like pods to form, you do not just sit around. You can aggressively prune the tender young leaves and sauté them exactly like spinach. You can even harvest the delicate blue blossoms, which surprisingly taste like fresh mushrooms, to visually elevate your summer salads. The harvest payoff is staggering in its versatility. The winged bean loves intense heat, thriving perfectly in USDA Hardiness Zones 9 through 11 as a perennial, and acts as a vigorous summer annual in cooler zones 4 through 8. You are looking at a harvest time of 75 to 85 days. The yield is exceptionally high, providing dozens of crunchy, high-protein pods perfect for hot stir-fries. But the ultimate reward comes when the season ends. Before throwing the dead vine away, you can dig into the potting soil and harvest the tuberous roots, which pack significantly more protein than standard potatoes. Securing the crown at number 1 is the indeterminate cherry tomato, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the American balcony garden. If you only have space for exactly 1 pot on your patio, this is the only plant you should ever consider. The word indeterminate is the secret to its dominance. While determinate bush tomatoes grow to a specific height, produce 1 batch of fruit, and die, an indeterminate vine literally never stops growing. It will continue to climb, flower, and pump out sugary sweet tomatoes every single day until the winter snow finally kills it. The vertical mechanics of this plant are awe-inspiring. These vines can easily reach 10 to 12 feet in length. You must provide them with a tall, rigid stake, a heavy trellis, or a vertical string dropped from the ceiling. As you tie the main stem to the support, the plant rapidly builds a towering, dense wall of foliage. This massive canopy is the ultimate living sunscreen, completely shielding your apartment from the brutal afternoon glare. Walking out onto your balcony and being surrounded by a towering, fragrant wall of tomato leaves and glowing red fruit is the absolute pinnacle of urban container gardening. Your container strategy requires a large, deep, 10 to 15-gallon pot. The absolute greatest expert hack for planting tomatoes happens on day 1, deep trenching. When you buy your tomato seedling, do not plant it at the same depth it was in its nursery cup. You must strip off the bottom leaves and bury the stem as deeply as possible into the potting soil, right up to its top leaves. The buried stem will instantly shoot out thousands of new roots, creating a massive, indestructible root system that will easily pump water up a 10-foot vertical vine during the hottest days of August. The harvest payoff is the greatest reward in all of container gardening. Indeterminate cherry tomatoes are highly adaptable, thriving as a heavy summer crop in USDA Hardiness Zones 3 through 11. Depending on the variety, like the famous Sun Gold, harvest time begins at just 60 to 70 days after planting. The yield is genuinely unbelievable. A single vertical vine will produce hundreds, sometimes thousands of bite-sized tomatoes over the course of the season. They are so incredibly sweet that they taste like sun-warmed candy, giving you an endless premium harvest that will completely transform the way you cook, eat, and live in your apartment.